Yeah, you were talking about, Wonder Man, and that's the newest thing coming out of Marvel, talking about how that appeals to, like, the making of and stuff for Hollywood. I see your Wonder Man, and I raise you the studio on Apple TV.
Yep.
Have you seen that?
I've not seen it yet. That is on my list, though, for sure.
It's incredible. And, like, the elevator pitch is that it literally is following the studio, but it's not just, like, vignettes. You're literally watching a movie get made at the studio from idea to script writing to actors to producers to release to promotion. And spoiler alert for the season, but that's where the season ends, is that they have the movie and they're preparing to present it to the world.
Oh, cool.
And so come season 2 then, which is confirmed thankfully, I think that's going to be, we're either going to see the rollout, or the rollout will have happened, and then they have to decide, is it a success, is it not? But much like Wonder Man, they have real actors that come in, like Martin Scorsese showed it up in the series, and he's pitching an idea, and then they talk about how, like, well, we now live in a post-Barbenheimer world. They're using real vernacular in it. Like, it's pretty incredible. So, yeah. But Jake, I want to say thank you so much for coming back to the podcast. I've wanted to have you on the podcast again since July, because that's when Superman came out, and I wanted your thoughts on that immediately. But since then, 2025 has come and gone, and now we're looking into 2026. But I essentially want to go through and review a lot of the movies that came out in 25, and we can just share our thoughts on it, you from a music perspective, because you're all in on that, and we can just talk about what worked, what didn't, and then we can also look forward to 2026 as well. Okay, so the way I actually wrote these is based on the order of release as well, which I didn't mean to, but this, in the order of which I have them laid out here, is the order in which we saw them. So here we go. Starting off with the first one, Captain America 4, Brave New World. We saw Steve Rogers retire, spoiler alert, for Endgame. And in comes Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson, graduating from the Falcon role to the Captain America role. What's your thoughts on the movie?
I think generally speaking, the movie wasn't that impressive to me.
Good.
I think the best part for me was Harrison Ford.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I wish that they would not have spoiled Red Hulk in the marketing.
I agree.
But I feel like they had to do it because I don't think there was much else going for the movie.
Yeah. It's funny. You and I are really tapped into this stuff. So, like, we know, actors, release dates, where stuff is filmed. This thing went through many different iterations.
Yeah.
I think there was one that didn't have Red Hulk at all. I think there was one that maybe had more Giancarlo Esposito, and yeah, I think when they did the Frankenstein approach to this whole thing, they realized maybe the biggest tool in their arsenal was Red Hulk. And so they postered him everywhere. I liked the movie. I had a good time with it. I watched it and I went, yeah, sure. Looks good, looks fun. What's your thoughts on having a different Captain America now?
I'm still kind of not sold on him particularly because, like, honestly, we don't really see him, like, saving people. Like, there's not, like, we talked about Superman, which obviously we'll go over later, but we've talked about how he goes out of his way to save people. Steve Rogers did a lot of that, at least in the first movie, and that was kind of made clear. He's like the humble guy that kind of goes out and just does the right thing. Sam Wilson, you don't really see that much action with him doing that. He's mostly like global level, world's an end. Oh no, Red Hulk's here, that kind of thing. And I feel like his character's development still hasn't sold me that he is Captain America. Obviously, he has a shield that's great, but he's a lot more gadget focused, which I don't really vibe with as a Captain America. I think Captain America is a simple enough character where he relies just on the shield and his intellect and fists. And that's pretty much it.
You bring up an interesting point too, because I remember something that bothered me was the fact that you're right. The Falcon had gadgets, then those gadgets kind of shifted over to the Captain America role. If you remember the movie, his wings are made out of vibranium from, Wakanda, so they're nuts. On top of that, they also have the kinetic energy appeal that the Black Panther suit has, because he charges them up and then stabs the Hulk with them and whatnot. And then you have the shield, and it's, there's a lot going on with him.
I think there's a lot of literal plot armor. Because if it was just him with the shield, I don't think he'd stand a chance against Hulk, obviously. So I feel like they kind of had to give him the Wakandan backup so
Yeah.
he could actually survive a fight like that.
Yeah.
Which is great, and the technology's there is cool. And I guess he has those little drones that go out as well,
Yep.
and that's a thing. But like it'd be different if it was more of like an Iron Man-esque approach where he like designed all these things.
Yeah.
But we're never told that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like obviously the Wakanda thing just came from Wakanda, but like
Yeah.
the drone stuff he had before that, and
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if that was like a government thing. Like if it'd be a little bit more personable if he had actually made those himself.
Yeah.
But really, all we know about his past is he's a military man.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I think the tech he was given, honestly, probably came from like Shield.
Yeah,
I think
right.
they just said, "Here you go, get out there," type stuff. What's interesting though too is that even though we're starting back, that came out in February 2025. We're not gonna. I want to talk about a movie that's coming out later this year. In Avengers: Doomsday, they fully announced to the public Steve Rogers is coming back as Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on one hand, the inner kid in me is like, "Oh my gosh, 2 Captain Americas in one movie!" Like, my head's gonna explode. I don't know though if that's like, if they sensed that the world at large was kind of like lukewarm to Captain America 4, and they're feeling they need to pull back the original. Like, what's your thoughts on Steve Rogers coming back now after Brave New World?
I'm thinking that he's going to be used as a catalyst more than a main character in a way. I think he's going to be a catalyst for a lot of the action that happens with Doom and what happens in the story, because I feel like, and this isn't backed by anything, maybe some internet rumors, but I feel like his going back at the end of Endgame in time to return all the stones is going to trigger some time, something or other that Doom's going to notice and try to like latch onto.
Yeah.
And then, so I think he's going to be a catalyst. Maybe he'll show up more in the movie than we think he will, but
Maybe.
I have a feeling that he's going to be used as like the story driver in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if not him, then who the main character or a main character would be, because like in an Avengers movie, you have the Avengers, then you have the supporting cast of like Nick Fury and, Miranda Hill and all that. I wonder if Doom would literally be the lead, kind of center stage as well as the antagonist, or if Thor takes that position now as well.
I feel like, they did all those teasers around Avatar.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's some common thread between all of those as far as the storylines go.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the last 2, I guess you saw the teams kind of forming a little bit between with the Wakandans and the Fantastic Four, and then the Moors there as well. So they're kind of drawing the lines there a little bit. But one thing I did notice was that there was a big focus between Steve and Thor, their children were kind of a big part of it, because Thor is talking about his daughter, I think, and then you see Steve holding his son, and they talked about Franklin too, and Fantastic Four being a big, so I think there's something to do with the kids there, that Doom is seeing, and obviously, you have the kid of Thor, a literal god, you have the kid of Steve, pretty much a god, and then Franklin, who's just a god, just so like I think there's a link there for sure.
Yeah, and with the expert component of it too, they're not children per se, but they're meant to be kids, teenagers, with some adult chaperones type stuff. Like if Doom is, going after the youth, and their power set, could be kind of an interesting thread. But we could talk more about Doomsday a little later though. Keeping it with Marvel still, after Brave New World came out, we had Thunderbolts, which is kind of an interesting entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I would equate it more to something like Eternals than I would say Ant-Man. But for me, it both worked and did not work. What's your thoughts on Thunderbolts?
I actually really enjoyed that film. I thought it was pretty brave for doing something different for the ending, for the third act.
Yeah.
Where it had that really heavy focus, not on the action, but really just on the mental illness, I guess I'll say, of the Void / what's his name? The character's name. Sentry, yeah. I think that worked as a counterpoint to all the mental issues that the Thunderbolts had.
Yeah.
Because they were a bunch of misfits that had tortured pasts and all this, and they were going through a lot.
Yeah.
And then they kind of were forced to become a team. And then Sentry shows up, and then he has that same issue. And then I think it was an interesting exploration of the mental blocks that some of these heroes face that we don't really hear about, especially these ones that are kind of the back line anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it was a really interesting approach, and I think for the most part it worked for me pretty well. I think the visuals were great. They're pretty grounded. It kind of reminded me of Civil War a little bit, as far as just like the grittiness aspect. I think in general speaking, I really did like that approach where it was people were getting disappeared on the street literally, and I really liked that effect. And it was kind of similar to like when Hiroshima went off, that was kind of that people were getting ghosted into that kind of the light shadow, whatever you call it.
Yeah,
that kind of gave me heavy vibes of that. And I wonder if there was some sort of meaning there. But I think in general, it was just an interesting movie, and just to see a different side of a superhero movie, but still has those heroic moments. But in general, just great to see a more emotionally charged side of a hero. And what that means and how they deal with it.
It's interesting that kind of not the formula, but it seems like a go-to formula for superhero stuff is the band of misfits. Of course, you have the Guardians trilogy. You have 2 Suicide Squads. You have something like on TV, like The Boys, which I've never seen, but I hear it's great, stuff like that. And then here comes Thunderbolts doing this as well. And I like all the characters. Bucky, I think, is cool. Red Guardian, Yelena, all of them. But, they go up against Sentry, which is essentially Superman, and it's like, I wonder, for me, he was an Avengers level threat, but he wasn't in an Avengers movie. And I liked the movie as an individual thing, but I don't know how they're going to fit all of this into the greater fold of everything, even though they directly tie it into what's coming up, because they give us those post-credit scenes featuring Doctor Doom and the Fantastic Four ship, But yeah, as an individual movie, cool visuals. I love the music, by the way, as well. But yeah, not one I'll necessarily go back to unless they manage to weave it in more.
Yeah, I think there's the corporate making of the Avengers in that movie 1 too towards the end, where Julie mentioned Elaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus walks out to you and she's like, "JK, here's the Avengers," and they're like, "Oh, okay." But then there's that little discussion at the end where Sam Wilson's suing them for the use of the Avengers name. Right. So I think that'll be an interesting link or whatever. But at the same time, it's just, I'm sure they'll tie it all in as they usually do. And I think I'm sure they'll be the first on the scene because they're probably the first ones to see that ship come in at the end. So then maybe there'll be something there. But yeah, in general, I really enjoyed the movie. You mentioned the music too. I think that was done by Son Lutz, who did the music for Everything Everywhere. And that was a really interesting choice. And I know there was even one of the trailers that came out for the film saying, "Hey, we have a bunch of indie developers on this."
Yes.
And it was very Wes Anderson-ish to me. It would have been kind of interesting if the movie leaned into that a little bit more. I think it would have thrown off the seriousness of the topic that they were dealing with. But I think they chose that group of people to deal with Sentry / the Void because they were both, obviously the new Avengers, Mr. I call them Thunderbolts. They had that common thread of terrible things happening to them, mental trouble and whatever, and so did Sentry. So I think they were probably chosen as the perfect team up to work against Sentry, but also bring him into the fold once he was past his thing.
That's a good point. Yeah, the marketing was quite cool for this movie too. I remember all the commercials and like you're talking about with the A24, EDM style trailers going on. It was pretty cool. In my opinion, maybe the trailers were probably a little better than the movie overall, but I do feel I should rewatch it at some point. And I probably should do that before we get to Doomsday. Did you see Thunderbolts in the theater?
Yes, I did.
For me, when I saw it in the theaters with my mom, shout out my mom, people were audibly gasping when they did that shadow effect. That was pretty wild.
I remember the one big reaction people had in the theater was when the little girl was saved by Red Guardian, and he was like, "You're saved," and she's like, "Great, mates," and then just gone immediately. And then people were like, "Oh," and then that was a cool moment. I did like that kind of twist on that, where he goes through and saves the day, and then nope, she just disappeared anyway. But that was an interesting. That was probably the one theater reaction we had in that one, from what I remember. But
Well, speaking of the theatrical experience and how important it is, moving just a little later in the year, moving into May now, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, allegedly the final one. We'll see what happens. I don't think you saw this one in theaters.
I did not see it in theaters, no.
I gotta hold your feet to the fire on that a little bit.
Yeah.
You had your theatrical duty.
I did miss that one, for sure.
For Mr. Movies, Mr. Tom Cruise himself. You know, that one I wanted to love so bad. And I'm not saying it's bad. I liked it. But much like Thunderbolts, I'm not finding myself running back to watch it. You know, I'll do Rogue One, Fallout, Ghost Protocol. I could rip those. I could eat them like chips. Mm-hmm. With this one, though, I'm like, You know, I will say, though, seeing it on the big screen was magnificent because of the cool visuals and whatnot. But, Mr. Movies himself, Tom Cruise, has supposedly wrapped up the series. And if he did, what's your thoughts on this being the final chapter?
I think it ended pretty flat for me, to be honest. I think, you know, Dead Reckoning Part 1 was enjoyable enough for me to validate the 3-hour time. This one did not. Mm-hmm. I think this one had a couple standout sequences in it. Yeah. But beyond that, it was a lot of formulaic kind of... There wasn't much of a visual identity to the film for me. I feel like when you think about Fallout, you think about the mountain scene. Oh yeah. Without there's that iconic chase scene. Yep. There's that iconic motorcycle scene in Road Nation. Ghost Protocol, same thing. You think about the chase and scaling the Burj Khalifa. Yeah, this one didn't really have that kind of moment for me. I guess kind of in the submarine sequence. Yeah. But at this point, you just know he's going to make it out. So there wasn't much drama there. Yeah. And I think also the one cool thing I think that they did with the film was they brought back that one character from Mission Impossible 1. Yes. All the way back in 90, whatever. Late 90s. The one that was working the computer station in the first heist. Yeah. The pocket knife, That was cool. Cool. I did enjoy that callback. Yeah. However, that was a few minute sequence out of a 3-hour-long film. Yeah. I really don't think that the film needed to be 3 hours. No. I think the first hour could have just been cut. There was a lot of talking in this, and it's nuts and like this one in particular was touted as the celebration of the series, which it did kind of from the jump, because if you remember the opening credits, they show the montage of all the movies, like all of them, and it's like, holy crap, it's like they're either going to kill him or this really is the last one, or it's both, But yeah, other than the guy showing back up with the pocket knife, I don't think there were many other callbacks. No. Which is kind of a bummer. I think they did mention Mission Impossible 3 at some point, talking about the containment device for the AI, but I can't fully remember. Yeah. But yeah, what's interesting is the big stunt of this movie, because they all have a huge stunt, as you said, the Burj Khalifa, the motorcycle chase, the helicopter chase, so on and so forth. In this one, it was the aerial sequence between the two planes. Mm-hmm. Tom Cruise jumping between two planes, which, look, I don't mean to be a snob, and whatnot, because it's a technological engineering feat I can never achieve, ever. I gotta say though, I think the submarine sequence was better. I think that was a better sequence. I think they kind of hit their apex in the middle, and then like you said in the beginning, it just kind of went flat. It kind of fizzled. Well, I think too with the airplane sequence, it was cool for the first 5 minutes, but when you realize it was a 15-minute long sequence, and you're like, you're just watching planes flying around at this point. It would have been a little bit more exciting if one of them just had a gun on it, I don't know, or something like that. But then, and I thought that the way that the quote unquote villain, the sub villain, I guess, passed away. Gabriel. I didn't like Gabriel as a character that much anyway to begin with. Yeah. He felt very one-dimensional to me. I liked him more in Part 1. Yeah, Part 1 he had a decent amount of threat to him. Mm-hmm. In Part 2 he was kind of cartoony a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I think in the way he died was really kind of weak. Maybe that was intentional, because he splats himself against the tail wing and then that's it. I don't get how he died. I don't know what the literal direction choice of that was. Yeah. Because if you remember, he's cackling like a madman, saying, "See you next time, Ethan," twirling the mustache. Then he jumps / falls out of the plane, hits his crotch on the tail wing, and then cracks his head open on another part of the plane. When I saw it in the theater, we laughed out loud. Yeah. I don't know if that was the intention. Yeah.
Like,
It was a very strange ending to a character that had all this emotional, or not emotional, but like, there was a lot of drive to being a pretty evil dude.
yeah,
And then they just choose the corniest way for him to go out.
he went out like a Looney Tunes character.
It made no sense to me at all. And it was very anticlimactic because like when I heard that, when my dad even laughed at it, I was like I don't think that was the intent.
Yeah.
But like, I don't, I guess. I just thought the AI thing was a cool touch.
Yep.
I wish it was somebody other than Gabriel. That was
Yeah.
the personal, like the human contact for it. It would have been cool if it was like, I don't know if it's somehow like controlled somebody's phone to like, so it could be anybody that would be in charge of the AI,
Like
something like that.
stuff.
Yeah. So like it would emit some like whatever vibrational frequency that would activate somebody, be like, I'm going to do this now. So it could have been like anybody.
You're writing a better movie now because they all talk through earpieces.
Yeah.
Imagine if like Benji got taken over.
Yeah. Some kind of like board thing, or it'd be like, I think that would have been a cooler idea, where it could have been like, oh no, we have 10 minutes to get this thing plugged into this thing, but it could be anybody on the planet.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I think that would have been much more threatening. And I think AI wouldn't rely on one person to do its job anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that would have been a bit more interesting to have the world to be the enemy in a way, where it's like this AI could be anywhere doing anything with anybody.
Yeah.
Not just, it's just, if we find Gabriel, it's over. Like that's kind of thing.
To give them a little bit of credit, they did. If they at least acknowledged the idea a little bit, in the sense that as the AI was taking over the world in this one, they lost their nuclear capabilities.
Yeah.
And so the remaining countries were all debating, should we launch a preemptive strike on whatever country it's in right now and kill it? We'll wipe out millions of people, but like, do we do that? So there was a little bit of flirtation with the world is now your enemy. But the problem though with this is that, like, you nailed it. Like, it's Tom Cruise versus an AI. How do you make that legitimately entertaining?
Yeah.
You have to have a human element.
You need a person.
You have to, and with me it's like, every Mission Impossible I feel kind of ramped up. They go from, a rogue nation, a literal rogue nation to nuclear devices and whatnot. What's the next big thing? Very timely, it was an AI, which I think was also a commentary by Tom Cruise on what AI could do to the movie industry just overall.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. You have to have that physical component. You have to have someone who could literally punch. And in comes Gabriel, great actor.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
I can't either.
I thought he looked amazing. I thought he had a great voice. But as a physical presence, I don't know if he was the right guy. And like, yeah, it's just, I remember in part one, they did a flashback sequence talking about how he killed someone important to Ethan a long time ago. And I can't remember if they were trying to establish a flashback between 2 and 3, because Ethan Hunt had the long hair and you don't really see his face. So I thought they're doing de-aging, but they showed this girl on the ground and I was like, that's not Rebecca Ferguson. That's not what's her face.
Yeah.
It seemed to me like it was a no-name character being killed by an arguably no-name villain. And there wasn't that emotional foundation. There was for me in the first part though, when he killed Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, I think for me that was the worst decision they could have made.
Yeah.
Because she was my favorite side character out of all of them. Because she was just really impressive in all the other films. And then this one, they're like, let's just kill her off.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, great. But then they did this thing where like you didn't really know if she was dead. Just like they always do that thing where like somebody's dead. Oh wait, no, they're not.
Yep.
And there was that little, at the very end where Ethan's with the entire crew in that street square somewhere in Europe. They all like do the traditional nod and salute, and then he turns away, and there's a woman sort of walking near him that has a similar hairstyle, and you're like, why don't you just say it's her? Like, I don't know. But I would have liked to see her in the film more, in the second part, more than Grace. Because Grace doesn't seem.
That's right. That's Haley Atwell.
Yeah, Grace didn't seem that interesting to me, I guess, compared to Ilsa.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just my 2 cents. So. Yeah.
I thought for sure Ferguson was coming back. Yeah. I would have honestly bet $20 that she's, because you're right. In the last one, they kind of sort of, who knows? It's a stab wound and whatnot. Yeah. So okay. With all this being said, we're kind of talking about it in a very good, not great manner. This is allegedly the last one. If this is the last one, how do you think the legacy of Mission Impossible go down. Because if you look at something like Game of Thrones, that's an incredible series. That's something I've never seen either. But that took the world by storm. Yet, in my opinion, that has kind of left the pop culture sphere because their last season was apparently abysmal.
Yeah.
People didn't like it.
I did hear that.
Do you think now we're in a situation with Mission Impossible to where 4, 5, 6, even 7 are really good, but because they went on a whimper, it could kind of fade away?
I think that people will always go back to those classics no matter what, because people like to remember when movies like that were good.
Yeah.
And they'll go back to I'm going to call it the Golden Three, the Golden Trilogy there, the Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout. Those will, I think, always be iconic films, for me especially. Again, like you were saying, you need them like candy, and so can I. For I think the legacy, even though the series did end out on whimper, people are still going to enjoy Tom Cruise or watching Tom Cruise either way. So like, I don't think anybody's going to say no to watching Tom Cruise jump off a building, or shatter his ankle. It's just people are going to go for it either way, and they might not want to watch a 3-hour film that wasn't that great. Yeah, that's fine, because I think at the end of the day, they just try to fit way too much into that last movie, which is crazy because it's a 2-parter of a 3-hour, it was a 6-hour film total,
essentially,
pretty much. And it's like, even then, it felt crowded. I was like, well, maybe you had a little bit too much going on there. And I kind of had a bad feeling at the start of the film, start of the second part, when they did that montage. I was like, oh no, they're gonna rely a lot on this kind of background footage just for filler, and it's like, I don't know if I like that much. But yeah, I think there was a few elements just missing from the film that made it not great for me.
Okay, Jake, so we throw out a hypothetical. You're in charge of Paramount.
Yeah.
You've checked the numbers. You realize maybe made a little bit of money, not a lot. The critical response to this movie isn't that great. Would you go back and try to do one more run at it? Another chapter to really land the plane, so to speak? Or do you think, you know what, we've hit, I think this is the 8th one now overall. We kind of did 7 out of 8 are pretty solid, 6 out of 8, stuff like that. Would you leave it, or would you go back for one more run at it?
I think I would do another run at it, but not have Tom Cruise as the main character.
Wow.
I'm just going to say that. I would think Rebecca Ferguson should have a lead in a Mission Impossible film.
Yeah.
With Tom Cruise kind of in the background. Maybe not background, but kind of like what, I didn't see it, but I'm assuming this is what happened. Ballerina, with John Wick kind of being in the background as like an overshadowing presence over the whole thing. I think that'd be kind of an interesting idea to have Ilsa, even if it's like a semi-bad story, kind of prequel-ish, maybe not prequel-ish, or just a side story, whatever. Yeah. I think she's kind of on the same level as him as far as physicality goes. Yeah. And just like cool factor. Yeah. So I think it'd be interesting to see her take a lead on something.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because I don't know if this is just me or if this was an idea that was like rumored but never really talked about, but if you remember in Ghost Protocol, they introduced Jeremy Renner. And I think there was an idea that he might transition into a more lead role, because at that time he was Hawkeye in the Avengers. They also gave him the Bourne series with Bourne Legacy. That kind of fizzled. Then he comes into Mission Impossible, and I think the plan was to kind of do what you're talking about. He gets elevated, Tom Cruise gets brought down a little bit. Not so much the guy in the chair, but in a supporting role. That didn't happen, though, because I don't think Renner was in Fallout. I don't think he was in any of the last 3.
No, I don't think so.
He certainly wasn't in the last 2. That's kind of an odd thing. So, yeah, I think whether that was ego-driven by Tom Cruise or, McQuarrie, I have no idea. But, yeah, I think if you are going to go back to Mission Impossible, I think if you're going to include Tom Cruise, he can't be the poster child. He has to be the guy secondary on the poster, secondary on the call sheet, which, I guess, we'll see. I would love another one, though.
Yeah, I would say if there was to be a director for the next one, I would say McQuarrie should gracefully step back and let Chad Stahelski, I think that's his name, from the John Wick series, have him take a crack at it. I think that would be insane to have an action film set in the Mission Impossible universe by the same guy that directed John Wick.
Yeah. He and David Leitch, they're hot. They're bouncing around everywhere. You know, David Leitch did Deadpool. He did one of the Fast and Furious. Jack Stahelski did a bunch of other stuff. I think he's doing a Highlander reboot with
Henry Cavill.
Yeah. So, that's a pretty solid matchup right there. You got the guy, one of the best action directors, one of the best action stars in Tom Cruise, or, you know, insert whoever, you know, anyone will throw down. But, Mission Impossible, great series, kind of a lackluster final entry, but, you know, we'll see what happens. Moving on now, getting into something much smaller in scale. The next one that came out, chronologically speaking, is a Wes Anderson film. I previously mentioned him, The Phoenician Scheme. What's your thoughts on not only this movie, but also Wes Anderson overall?
So I've only seen 3 Wes Anderson films, one of them being Fantastic Mr. Fox, the other one being Asteroid City, and obviously Phoenician Scheme.
Yep.
So I don't have the greatest opinion on him based on what I've seen. I think he's great.
Yeah.
Not saying that. I just I haven't seen the title.
I haven't either.
So I think Phoenician Scheme was enjoyable enough to me where it was fun to watch Benicio del Toro kind of scheme his way around things. But I think I liked the story of Asteroid City better. Yeah. As far as just like, I think Wes Anderson kind of thrives on those kind of weirder stories. Like Fantastic Mr. Fox, like Asteroid City.
Yep.
But there wasn't that much like fantasticalness to it. Phoenician Scheme, it was pretty grounded for him. So I think that was, but obviously his key points are set design, which was, you know, again, like every scene he does is a painting for sure, and beautiful sets, beautiful music from Alexandre Desplat as well. And one thing I really enjoyed with this film was that they relied a lot on classical music as well.
Yes.
They relied on, I think mainly one of the themes from The Firebird by Igor Stravinsky, which was an interesting idea. And then there's that one scene towards the end of the film where they present, you know, the grand city or whatever, Phoenician Scheme, the grand scheme. There's this thing that comes out of the theater and they play part of that music, which is, it's the music that they play is from something, it's Pictures at an Exhibition is what it is.
Okay.
Which is another classical work that I really love. But then, I think in general, the movie was pretty fun to watch, but not a rewatch for me.
Yeah.
I think it was missing that fantastical element that I think Wes is really good at.
Yeah.
From my limited watching of his catalog, but I think it was just a little bit too grounded for my taste.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, for him, I think like I said, Asteroid City has that really nice fantastical element with the aliens showing up, and it's really done really well. And for Fantastic Mr. Fox, just the creativity of, you know, the film and the practical effects and all that. It was great to see all the usual actors show up for him. You know, you had Bryan Cranston show up for a little bit and Tom Hanks, which is always nice to see. But I think just in general, it was just lacking a bit of a fantastic element to it for me.
I love all the pieces of a Wes Anderson movie. I don't always necessarily love the end product. Like you said, his shot composition, incredible. And the thing is edited within an inch of its life, you know, and it's amazing. Color-wise, remarkable. Music, the whole bit. And his cast, I mean, good Lord. You know, think about who you just named, you know, Tom Hanks, Willem Dafoe, you know, the list goes on and whatnot. Michael Cera, you know, in this last one. He has remarkable pieces. I don't know if he's a writer-director and he just doesn't know how to write. That sounds too harsh, but like, you know, like you said, like there's something about the Phoenician Scheme and even Asteroid City where I don't necessarily find myself going back to them. And I think that's because I don't think the stories are all that great, but everything around it is good. I think maybe his strongest story-driven film is perhaps Fantastic Mr. Fox, just because that's very family-centered. You know, in my opinion, Mr. Fox is what I would call a mature kids film in the sense that you can be 7-year-old, 27-year-old, or a 77-year-old, and you can sit down and enjoy that film.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could do that with Asteroid City, with Phoenician Scheme, and then the last one I saw of his was Grand Budapest Hotel. I do recommend that because it has all the trimmings that we just talked about. But him as a director, it's like when he announces a movie, I will go see it my mom loves Wes Anderson and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. He's kind of like Zack Snyder for me in that he's a great visual storyteller. I don't know if his strongest sensibility is story.
Yeah, I would agree. And again, limited catalog for me, but I think he stages everything like it's an actual theatrical production,
Yes.
which I think is really unique. And I think somebody that loves musicals a lot, I think that's a plus to me too, is seeing as how like a lot of his sets are horizontal, I guess, in a way where characters move left to right.
Yep.
Like that happens a lot in Asteroid City as well, where he does a lot of panning left to right. That's about it. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that aspect of his filmmaking, but again, yeah, I think a lot of his stories can be a little bit weaker. Yeah. But it is at the end of the day pretty to look at.
Yeah,
beautiful to hear. And again, just fun to watch some good acting.
Yeah,
because he always is good acting out of his characters, no matter what, or out of his actors, I should say.
Yeah.
But I think in general, yeah, Phoenician Scheme was a little bit on the weaker side for me, just because it was missing that fantastical approach.
Yeah, I would love for him to do another stop motion claymation type thing with Mr. Fox. I knew he did one shortly after. Well, not shortly. It was a couple years later. It was called Isle of Dogs. Mm-hmm. It was okay. Yeah. It was all right. But I think, that was my introduction to him. And I think when people think back to Wes Anderson, they might consider Mr. Fox to be upper tier, and so I wish he would just kind of live inside that world. Not for forever, but I think, just get an incredible voice cast and then just tell a cool, funny story,
the funny thing is I just had this idea, and I may have had it before, but I don't know. Are you familiar with Wallace and Gromit?
Oh, yeah.
I think he would be a perfect choice for a Wallace and Gromit film. I'm just going to say that right now.
My money.
Because I think that's a perfect universe that's quirky enough but grounded for him to approach, where he could do something really cool with it. Keeping that same animation style, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think that'd just be a really fun film to watch.
He would crush Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great fit for him.
Yeah. Oh, man, I grew up on Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
The moon is made of cheese, and they try to build a rocket, and then they're like, I forgot the crackers, and all
Ron Trousers will always be my favorite short film, I think, of all time. Yeah, it's so much fun.
I don't know how, I've never thought about that before, about pairing up Wallace and Gromit with Wes Anderson. Mm-hmm. That's $1 billion idea. Someone somewhere. Wes Anderson, if you're listening.
We'll take you.
Yeah, get on that, please. All right. Moving on to something now much larger. We went from Mission Impossible to Phoenician Scheme, going big to smaller, at least just in terms of execution. Getting back now to something much more grand in scale, F1 with Brad Pitt. Again, not to hold your feet to the fire too much, but is this also another movie you missed in theaters?
That is correct.
Once again, I think you kind of lacked in your theatrical duties.
I did miss out on that one.
For 2025. I thought that seeing F1 in the theater was an even better experience than seeing Mission Impossible in the theater. And this is made by Apple, and they've been doing, in my opinion, quite well in terms of their output, both in TV and in movies. And this is one that I think kind of took the world by storm. It's not like it's $1 billion film, but like I saw it twice. It's been nominated for awards, including Best Picture, and we'll get to the Oscars a little later. But Apple, for whatever reason, they were pretty reserved on this film after its theatrical release, because I wanted you to see it for months, and it was just available for rent. It wasn't on Apple TV Plus, and whatnot. So it's been out for a while. You have seen the film now, very thankfully. What's your thoughts on F1?
I really enjoyed that movie, and I do feel very bad that I didn't get to see it in theaters, specifically for the audio design. I even just watching it with my soundbar at my parents' house, it was like, okay, yeah, I should have seen this in theaters. Yeah. But I thought it was a very, a little formulaic, but not too much. Mm-hmm. And it was F1 is something I've never really been into. So seeing that come to life is pretty interesting. I think I'm not sure how much of it was accurate, but I'm sure it has the F1 name on it. I'm sure it was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to learn about the cars and the tires and how they steam out, replacing the tires I think it was just a very interesting movie to learn about that. But then also have a story of, Brad Pitt coming back from the dead, essentially, coming back from the wild, coming back into race F1 against his will, which again, a little formulaic, but I think it worked for this movie. I don't think you wanted to do something too crazy for the story. I think you wanted something that was like Brad Pitt gets in the car, goes fast. Like that's pretty much, and you're like, okay, that's watchable enough for me. But yeah, I think in general, it was the highlights for me were cinematography was really well done. It reminded me a lot of Top Gun, which I think there was the same director.
Yep, Joseph Kosinski.
Yeah, who I love. And then I think just seeing the sound design, the hearing the ferocity of the engines was really cool. And also the story was really well done, I thought, too.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer crushed it, as usual. Yeah, this movie, for me, used the word formulaic, and I agree with that. Most people might think that when you say that, that's kind of a diminishing word for the film. Mm-hmm. I think it's more so a positive, because the formula that they used is a formula that works. Yeah. I mean, it's essentially an almost cookie-cutter sports movie, the aging veteran coming back for one last ride to bring up the young, plucky team from obscurity into a championship. Mm-hmm. Boom, there you go. And yeah, you're right. Like F1, I wouldn't even know what channel to find it on if I wanted to watch it. I have a friend of mine named Dakota. Shout out Dakota. He's been on the podcast a few times. He loves F1. He's all in. And when this movie was coming out, I wanted to talk to him about it. He broke down the intricacies to me about there's actually like F2 and F3, which are like minor leagues and whatnot. And he broke it all down. To see this translated into the movie, I like to feel it was accurate. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe I'm just being susceptible to movie magic. I have no idea. But when you're working with Apple, who can write a blank check, I heard that they custom fit F2 cars, so they were driving at real speeds on real tracks, both during the actual F1 season and during the off season. They got a chance to actually put real cars on real, terrain and whatnot. And I think it paid off in the long run. And then, you bring in the sensibilities of Joseph Kosinski, who essentially, when he made this movie, in my opinion, he essentially did Top Gun Maverick with cars. Mm-hmm. It's essentially how it worked out. But I like all the components of it in the sense that it's Jerry Bruckheimer, who's been producing for forever. Mm-hmm. It's Brad Pitt, who's been acting for forever. Then you have Joseph Kosinski. Yeah, he's been around, but he's still kind of young in his tenure and whatnot. But for me, this was an appeal to classic Hollywood filmmaking from a production standpoint. And I it's gonna sound like a broken record, but we should just make more movies like this one. I thought it just worked, and I thought it worked because it appealed to an old school sensibility. What's your thoughts on that?
And that's similar to what Top Gun did too. The Top Gun Maverick, that was, pretty much the same story in a way. But there is that appeal to audiences for sure, and for me especially, where it's it's that story does work in any medium, in any story or in any setting, I should say. But I think in general that it was very approachable in that way, where it was you could watch it, enjoy it, and that's an instant rewatch because it's very fun just to explore that world. And that's what I think Joseph Kosinski really does well, is going into those kind of niche worlds and making them accessible for everybody. Mm-hmm. And he did that for Tron with Legacy, and obviously did that for Top Gun and now for F1, and please God, let it be for Star Wars. But I think that was a perfect pairing for him with Brad Pitt and Jerry Bruckheimer, where they made something extremely solid to watch and something that was rewatchable for all the sound design elements and just the acting elements and all that. And it was formulaic, but like what you said, that was a benefit to it. Because a lot of the times those formulaic movies fall kind of flat. But this one had that added bonus of, hey, the sound design's excellent. The music's excellent. The production design is stellar. That's why you should watch this movie. Is because the story might be a little bit basic, but that's okay, because everything else surrounding the story, making the story complete, is beyond anything we could think.
Did you ever see a movie, speaking of the previously mentioned Tom Cruise, called Days of Thunder?
I have not seen that one.
That's a pretty solid one. That's a NASCAR movie.
Okay.
It's like beer. It's just it's you're not gonna get Shakespeare out of it. You're gonna get Tom Cruise going, I can't drive fast enough, and stuff like that. There was a lot of online chatter about, with the success of F1 and with Cruise now stepping away allegedly from Mission Impossible, that he was looking to revive another old school franchise of his, and one of them being Days of Thunder. Hard to call it a franchise when it's one movie, but whatever. You know what I mean? Semantics. Tom Cruise then shows up to the F1 premiere. Don't know if you saw those photos or whatnot, but he kind of just came unannounced, I think, air quotes unannounced, and they did the handshake between Brad Pitt and Kaczynski. And all this talk went ablaze over Twitter and YouTube that they're working on a project together. And they kind of winked at the camera saying it would be fun to do a crossover sequel between the F1 movie and Days of Thunder. I think there is a world where we get an F1 sequel, regardless of who's in it. I think with the success of it, with how we're talking about it, and now with the award recognition, I think that there's going to be an F2, something like that. I present to you the idea of an F1 sequel. First, what's your thoughts on that? And then, what would be your response if you heard Tom Cruise is going to star opposite Brad Pitt in an F1 sequel?
Well, I think that'd be an instant $1 billion for the box office.
Yeah.
First of all, I think that'd be an interesting mix to have, two veterans kind of competing out. I think this would also be a vacation film for Tom Cruise because it wouldn't be that physical for him.
Yep.
He'd just be doing a lot of walking and a lot of sitting in a cockpit.
True.
Which I think he'd be like, oh, that's fine. Well, I won't break my leg this time, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, yeah, maybe not. But I think that a sequel would be very interesting. I'd be interested to see where it would go.
Yeah.
If you got kind of the whole package in F1 as far as you had the Grand Prix and everything like that, all the fun races. You saw like I don't know how many 10 races in that film, something close to that. So I'd be interested to see how they make that bigger.
Yeah.
Unless they took it to a whole different field of not F1 but something else with Tom Cruise there. I wouldn't know exactly from not my minimal knowledge of racing.
Yeah.
What they would do as far as escalating.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but it would be fun to see Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt do something like that.
The one thing I could see them doing, because they kind of push the door open slightly, is that at the end of F1 we see Brad Pitt go to that desert to do that Baja racing in those like souped up dune buggies.
Yeah.
So I could see them doing that to where you're going to go over dunes where you get air so you can have jumps. Those things have roll cages on them so you can do whatever and not just crash immediately. What's interesting though is that despite me loving F1, despite me championing my excitement for a potential sequel, I do feel that this is a situation where a sequel just isn't fully warranted from a story-driven perspective.
Right.
From a financial, critical reception, it is 100%. I almost equate this to what happened with like Joker, because Joker came out of nowhere, made literally over $1 billion. So they just were getting money hand over fist because that thing was made for $3 or whatever.
Yeah.
I believe it was nominated for Best Picture and Best Actor.
Mm-hmm.
Joaquin Phoenix won for Best Actor. Now we get Joker 2. Did you ever see that one?
I did not see that.
Okay. You ask 10 people on the street, they'll say, 9 of them will say, good for you for not seeing it, avoid it. I'm the one person where I'm not saying I liked it, I think I did, but I understood what they were going for.
Yeah.
However, that movie suffered from an unnecessary sequel, kind of diminished the first one, in my opinion, with it feeling just kind of shoehorned in. Do you think F1 could run into a similar situation with that, to where it is pretty contained? There are breadcrumbs to where you could go somewhere else, but do you think an F1 sequel, F2, would diminish anything from the first film?
I think one thing Hollywood kind of suffers from at the moment is having to answer unanswered questions.
That's a great statement.
I think F1 has those few questions, but I don't think that means that it shouldn't need a sequel.
Yeah.
I think if they made a sequel, it'll probably do pretty well. Yeah, I don't think it will do as well. I think generally nowadays sequels don't do as well unless it's like something out of left field for like Marvel or something like that.
Tom Cruise or something.
Unless you get Tom Cruise in there, unless you get that added star power. I just feel like, again, like what I said earlier, if they kind of went all out on the F1 portion in the first film, I'm not really sure what they would do to elevate the story and elevate the action anymore. Besides going to like NASCAR, which again, NASCAR, it's a little bit more violent, I guess, than F1 could be.
Yeah.
But again, would that be worthy of a sequel? I'm not really sure if it would be. I think that if it's got the Best Picture nomination, which rightly so, it should probably just stay what it is, and they probably shouldn't establish a cinematic universe out of that, because then based on the real world, there isn't that much beyond F1 that's that extreme. Right. Besides like racing fighter jets or something like that,
Yeah.
which again would be cool.
Would be cool.
I would say that. Again, it's just I don't think it warrants a sequel at that point.
That's a cool point you made, because even in F1, you know, they're racing those, not rally cars, but there's some kind of souped up vehicle they're driving on a NASCAR track. They're not NASCARs, but they're like McLarens or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, then Brad Pitt walks up to what's his face in the movie, and he's like, you know, when's the last race you won? Oh, Daytona. Oh, I meant F1. You know, so there's clearly a hierarchy of just race. You know, you go from NASCAR to F1. Then you're right. I don't know what the next mountain to climb would be after F1.
Yeah.
That seems more so the plateau. So, yeah, we'll have to see what comes of it. But, yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I wouldn't do an F1 sequel unless you frankly had someone either A, exactly like Tom Cruise, meaning you literally got him, or someone comparable to him. And I'm not really sure who that would be, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. As far as somebody kind of aged up, I don't know who that would be. I think I would have a hard time seeing like Tom Holland show up in a like that kind of film. It just wouldn't work for me. You need somebody kind of grizzled, I think, a little bit. But again, besides Tom Cruise, I don't know who they would get.
Yeah.
Maybe Liam Neeson, but again, I think he's a little bit too old for it now, or maybe Daniel Craig. I don't even know, but
What DiCaprio?
maybe I don't know if he does action films anymore.
He claims he doesn't do sequels either,
That's true.
which I think still holds true. I don't think he's ever done.
No, I don't.
sequels.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because love DiCaprio, he's a little pretentious like that, to where he's like, I don't do sequels and I don't do TV, and it's like,
Yeah, that's fair.
it's like, okay, fine, but you know, whatever. But yeah, you're kind of right though. Apart from a DiCaprio, or apart from a Cruise, yeah, I don't know. So maybe F1 should just stay one movie.
I think it's just fine staying as the gem.
Yeah.
You know, not making it lesser when that sequel comes out. That's just not great.
Yeah.
I think like I said, Hollywood should just, when it has something good, just let it be good.
Yeah.
And don't try to attempt to push more money out of it than you want to, because then you might have run into a Joker 2 issue where, you know, makes a bunch of money. Then the second time it's like, you know, you walk up to the counter and there's only a box of chewing gum there, and they're like, oh, we're supposed to get money for this. No, you know, but yeah, I think in general, F1 should just stay on its own.
Yeah. All right, then. Moving on now into what I consider to be the main course of what this discussion could be. Whereas F1 is one movie. There's a new Superman movie that came out, which itself is one movie, yet it's meant as the framework for multiple movies, multiple TV shows. I could talk about this movie for an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll see where the road takes us. But first, let's break down the Superman movie as a Superman movie, just as an individual movie, and then let's talk about what it could mean going forward for the DC storytelling universe, for pop culture. But yeah, Superman came out in July of 2025. It was my most anticipated movie of that year, and I liked it, did not love it, certainly did not dislike it. I think, at the end of the day, I think it's good, not great. What's your thoughts on Superman?
So I'm going to come at this from a frame of reference here, where I think one of the very first movies I watched, I'm probably wrong on this, but was 1978 Christopher Reeve Superman. Absolutely iconic film for me.
Yes.
And really, really built the character for me completely.
Yes.
Fast forward to last year when Superman came out, I walked into this movie thinking I would see Christopher Reeve again, because that's just me. Because I have a very firm picture of what the character should be. And in general, like you said, I liked it, but didn't love it. I think there were some things that happened with the story that I didn't fully appreciate. And I think there was just too much going on, frankly.
It's a full movie.
I think there was a lot of things introduced that were kind of like, oh, like now there's dimension hopping in a Superman movie suddenly in the first movie of the universe.
Yeah.
I think it could have benefited from a little bit more of a grounded story.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been more fun just to see Superman on his own instead of having the team, the JSA or whatever it was called. It wasn't quite Justice League quite yet.
It was the Justice Gang of Freedom or whatever.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know, the underdogs or whatever. But I think it would have been beneficial to see a bit more of a grounded story focused on him alone. I think a lot of the action was filmed very strangely to me. I think the fisheye just didn't work for me at all. It was a
Yeah.
little bit sickening to watch in theaters, actually.
There were some interesting lens choices.
Yeah,
with
I,
this.
I, don't, I don't know if that was meant to like emphasize his speed or something, but I think there could have been easier ways to do that.
Yeah.
I think the fisheye was just a little bit distracting for me.
Yeah.
I understand what James Gunn was trying to do, and I think the acting done by David Cornsweet and
Rachel Brosnahan.
Rachel Brosnahan was excellent, especially in that one scene that happened where they just talked about things.
Yeah.
They basically just talked about the state of the world and whatever, and what Superman means.
Yeah.
For like that was a great scene.
That
was
was a great
probably
scene.
that was probably my favorite scene in the film, and that's because there wasn't any action in it.
Yeah.
But I think when you go back to those older Superman films, where Superman shines the most isn't exactly the action; it's those smaller moments.
Yeah.
Where he talks with Lois Lane on the rooftop, and they have that iconic scene, or he's interacting with saving a cat out of a tree.
Yep.
That kind of thing. I think the character thrives in those smaller moments, and there were some of those in the newer film, but I think in general it was a little bit too big picture for me.
Yeah.
I think it would have benefited a bit more from a slightly more grounded story.
Yeah. There's a lot of routes that could take us down just with your comments right there alone. It's interesting that you described wanting something a little more grounded, a little more solely focused on Superman, just him. And I agree with you and disagree with you at the same time. But what's funny is that it almost sounds like you're describing Man of Steel, which came out in 2013. I love that movie. I think that thing's underrated. I think that thing is a glass of wine. I think it's so operatic, so sophisticated.
Yeah.
You have it's Zack Snyder at the helm, but you have Christopher Nolan as a producer. I think he was really kind of putting the shoulder up, hand on the shoulder type deal, saying take it slow, let it breathe. That movie to me is incredible. That in of itself spawned a universe, the DCEU, which unfortunately fizzled out in many different forms. This one of the reasons that I think it fizzled out, and I agree with it, is that the previous iteration of these characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, they were all so dark, so serious, and they were literally shot like with black,
with like a black washcloth over the top.
Oh my gosh, there was just the absence of color, save for Wonder Woman. For me, a big litmus test for movie going is my mother.
Yep.
Shout out my mother.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. My mom and I see movies together all the time. We love going to see superhero stuff in general. I remember in 2016, which is funny to think about, 10 years ago, this year, Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice came out. What should have been a $2 billion film in its sleep couldn't even crack one. For me, I thought they were in trouble when my mom said she did not want to see it. Seriously, because that was if not the height, it was getting close to the height of the MCU. That was the same year we had Captain America Civil War.
Yep.
Infinity War was coming out shortly after and whatnot. We had a couple of Avengers movies. The superhero craze was, again, as I said, almost at its peak. You have Batman versus Superman, the movie. My mom goes, no, I'm okay.
Yeah. So
I think that, and Batman vs. Superman it's a very dark film. It's very somber. I don't know how kids can enjoy that, and whatnot. Here comes Superman 2025, which I think is a direct reaction to that. I think it's meant to be the exact inverse, where you have color and just craziness, and it's almost like a comic book brought to life, and its wackiness. And like you said, want Superman to have kind of more quiet moments. You look at the original Superman movie that came out in 2017, like you said, there is a literal shot of him saving a cat from a tree, which I appreciate. In this one, they mirror that by him saving a squirrel.
Yeah.
They have him rush over the street and whatnot. So this was clearly done as a reactionary move to what didn't work. What's your thoughts on this movie now existing in the aftermath of Man of Steel, in the aftermath of BVS? Do you think it was frankly weighed down by needing to shed what came before?
I think a little bit, but I also think that they were trying to focus it more towards like kids, which again, going back to like Star Wars or something, that was always meant to be a kids movie.
Yeah.
I think Superman, when I think of Superman, it's really associated with kids because that's a lot of their first superheroes that they think about is Superman, or at least it used to be before Marvel showed up on the stage.
Yep.
But I think, yeah, it was. I would say it was a lot of a reaction to the darkness of the literal darkness
Yeah.
of the other films. And like you were saying, yeah, Man of Steel was really excellent for me as well, where it was it was very saturated. I'll say that for color, but like in a decent way, where it wasn't
I
like
agree.
overbearing. And I think the story was hopeful enough.
Yeah.
But I think just with 25 Superman, I think maybe it went a little bit too far in that direction.
I think so.
I think it could have been dialed back a little bit.
Yeah.
It would have been cool to see more of a golden age comic book era Superman.
Yeah.
More than a 2025 version, I guess. I'm not sure.
The movie's bonkers.
Yeah, there was a lot happening in the movie where I was like, why is this happening right now?
Yeah.
I was like, like the whole Lex Luthor traveling between worlds, and there's this weird faceless alien shipping him around places. I was like, what is happening right now?
Even spoiler kids from Superman, but
right.
Even like you have Ultraman rips off his mask, revealed to be a Superman clone. I'm like, wow, you're using the clone card in chapter 1?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you normally get deep into, I mean, even look at Marvel. They didn't use time travel until Endgame, and time travel is a bag of weeds. You know, we didn't get to the multiverse, which is essentially kind of cloning, until now. This thing was just everything in the kitchen sink. James Gunn is the helm of this, writer, director, producer extraordinaire, all that stuff. He has a very unique style of filmmaking.
Yeah.
To the Guardians movies, look to his Suicide Squad, now look to the Superman. Do you, in hindsight now, do you think he was the best choice just to direct the movie?
To direct, I don't think so. I think what worked in the movie generally, some of the humor worked for me. I will say that. And I think that's what he excels at, is that physical comedy and just the comedy as well. Just the line comedy. I don't know who I would have chosen to direct it otherwise. But I think since he's so heavy-handed into like the formation of the universe itself, he probably was the right choice to start off.
Maybe.
But I don't know who else would have taken it over. I would have liked to see somebody else for sure, because I don't think his directing style would have really fits the character that he was going for.
Yeah. He has a very cotton candy approach.
Yeah, it's very, very colorful, which is great.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Very colorful, but a lot of other things kind of take background at that point when he does that, which I don't really appreciate. But again, I'm coming from this very grounded Superman that I will always love until the end of time. And I think, I'm going to be honest here, the one thing that took me out of the movie the most was the music.
I remember you telling me this.
I was incredibly frustrated with the music.
Yeah.
Because again, we're looking at a really rich legacy of Hans Zimmer from Man of Steel.
Yep.
And then back in the 70s, the 80s, you have John Williams, of course, who is, again, my legend.
Yeah.
And you can never tear that theme away from that character, I don't think. Hans Zimmer did a good job, actually, I will say, of the music for Superman and Man of Steel. It was great. I felt like they were just like sort of copying John Williams, but in a much worse fashion for 2025. I think the music just felt fake to me in a way, which really cheapened the character to me and the movie.
We saw this movie together, not like we went together, but you were in the screening that I was in.
Yes.
We said hi and whatnot. I remember as we're leaving the theater, the first thing you said to me, you're like, I don't like the music. And I was like, oh no. Because you're all in on the music, like I said earlier. So I was like, I don't know. I was like, if he doesn't like the music, then that's.
Oh, I literally, like the night before, I think I lost like 3 hours of sleep thinking about what the music would sound like. Because I wasn't listening to the album yet. Because I wanted to like get the whole picture with the music included as I watched it for the first time. And then as soon as the first notes came on, I was like, oh God, no, please.
Yeah.
And then when I listened to the album later, I was like, oh, I can't. Like, yeah, the Superman theme's there.
It's there. It's layered.
But that theme is meant to be orchestrated on a grand scale. That was not there in this movie to me. I think, again, I'm just a John Williams fanboy, which is fine. But like, the music just sounded like an afterthought to me, and I think that should be the forefront of a Superman film. Is you need that theme to lift the character into the heights. So when those heroic moments come, you can play that theme through, and it sounds like you're elevating the character, and he's actually doing the thing that he's doing.
Yeah.
When those heroic moments came, it just didn't really feel like that to me. It felt kind of empty.
Okay, so I'm going to propose another hypothetical to you. You're in charge of the music.
Yeah.
You're working under James Gunn. Would you, A, just literally copy and paste the John Williams theme? Or would you do something like Hans Zimmer did, just go completely different?
I would write something new because I don't know if the theme really would work. I don't know if the theme, if this Superman theme, or the original Superman theme, sorry, would have worked for this new version of Superman. Because this new version of Superman is obviously, it's rooted in Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
But not really, in a way. It's grounded, but not, it's emotionally grounded, I'll say, but not, his character was a lot more kind of bouncy, I guess.
This movie's very spread out.
It's very bouncy, yeah. But I think if I was in charge of music, I would have written my own thing for this version of the character.
Okay. So, again, the problem, I think, I agree with you to a point of the music.
Yeah.
Like, I liked the version that they had in the trailer. When that first trailer came out, I lost my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I was like, Superman. I was like, the new character, new version of the character, the whole new universe, I was wrapped up in it and whatnot. I think the problem, though, is that I think they wanted to have their cake and eat it too, just with the music. They clearly looked to Williams and said, that's not just the 78 theme, that's the Superman theme. Whether you agree with that or disagree with that, totally up to you and the listeners individually. They take that, they take the foundation of that, but then I think they wanted a bit of the Hans Zimmer effect, to where there's that constant electric guitar. And, Hans Zimmer loves himself electric guitars. He loves using bass guitars and stuff like that. And the marriage of those two things, I think, worked-ish.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think they probably should have cut bait and just gone original, because I think it's like a little bit of the 78, a little bit of Man of Steel, and it equals into nothing. I
would have been okay with them mixing the two separate. I guess it would have been cool to have some orchestral tracks and then some, like for Lex Luthor's character, have, or the evil side or whatever, have more of the Hans Zimmer synthy type.
Yep.
But I think for Superman, you had to keep it orchestral. And I think, to me, a lot of the music just sounded like, you come across those YouTube videos that have 37 views that are like John Williams and Hans Zimmer mashup, and it's very synthy, and like you're like, why would I listen to this? It felt like that most of the time to me. Like, I don't know if there was, I know originally John Murphy was solely the writer, I think, but then they brought somebody on to like help finish it, I think.
Yep. So
I don't know if that led to some of the cheapness of it.
No, it's a fair word to use.
But I think usually when Superman 78, I've listened to that album Lord knows how many times.
It's remarkable.
This is one I haven't touched once.
Yeah.
So
I don't blame you.
I don't like. I think I maybe have one track on my 2025 playlist, but again, I usually skip over it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think just in general, the music has to be orchestral based, and it was really missing that for me, and that made me dislike the movie a little bit more than again, when I approach a movie, music is pretty much number 2 on my list, if not number 1.
What's number 1? If not music.
If not music, it'd probably be sound design.
Oh,
yeah. Or just whatever can make me immersed. But I think it just wasn't there for me, and because of that, it kind of ruined the rest of the movie for me.
Sure.
Was listening to that when he's first doing the flying thing through the mountains in Antarctica or whatever.
Yep.
That's cool. Great.
Yeah, cool shot. I like the music flair.
The music was nice there. The rest of it, it fell kind of flat for me. So that was unfortunate. And then for me, if I have to hear the music for the rest of the movie, I'm like, oh, that kind of thing. But I think in general, the music just did not work for me at all. And I think, but again, I have a very firm vision on what that music should sound like for a Superman film.
Yeah.
Obviously, James Gunn didn't agree. That's fine.
Yep.
They used a theme, great. I think they should have just had a bit more acousticness to it.
Yeah.
A little bit more analog sound. Mm-hmm. But that's just me.
I'm going to pose another question to you. This is going to sound kind of kooky, because you need music in a movie to have it, have a pulse and whatnot. Do you think you would literally enjoy the movie more if you just stripped the music out of it entirely? You just focused on like the story, the action, the acting, stuff like that?
I would probably enjoy it more. What I would enjoy even more than that would be if somebody spliced in just the original soundtrack from Superman 78
Yeah.
into the right moments.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to see a fan edit of that, where somebody would throw in like, oh, I just juxtaposed the entire 78 soundtrack onto the right scenes.
Yeah.
In 2025, I would be interested to see that and see if it would have a different effect on me. And it probably would.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I stripped out the music, I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more, but not by that much.
Yeah.
So
okay. So let's expand now the conversation about just beyond this individual movie. As we talked about and mentioned, this is the start of a whole new universe.
Yeah.
Essentially the start of a whole new catalog of storytelling, as DC has been chasing Marvel's coattails for years.
Mm-hmm.
Again, as we mentioned, we had Man of Steel, which led into BVS, which led into diminished results. That thing goes kaput. This is meant to be step one, chapter one of something much larger in scale, where we're going to get Superman movies. We're going to get a Supergirl movie coming out later this year. We'll talk about that a little later. Of course, on the heels of that as well, we're also going to get Wonder Woman again, Batman, and now the doors are wide open because this movie Superman introduced like Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, Metamorpho. Sky's the limit. And for someone like James Gunn, who loves the obscure characters, again, look to Guardians of the Galaxy, look to Suicide Squad, I think that despite Superman 25 as a movie not being the greatest, I think what it did, frankly, great, was lay a foundation. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts going forward now after Superman?
I think you're right. I think there is a lot that they can go off of there. I am excited for Supergirl, just to see a different director try a different approach. And I think was it Craig Gillespie directing? Yes. So I'd be interested to see that for sure. I'm very interested to see what they do with Batman.
Yeah.
As far as like, I know there's a whole thing with the Batman now as well. Now that they're finally working on that, how they would approach a different Batman as well.
Yeah.
Obviously it's pretty far down the line, but I'm gonna keep an open mind for sure for the rest of for whatever the next like 3 or 4 movies, whatever come out. I'll be interested because I think they're doing The Brave and the Bold or something like that as well. I'm not familiar enough with that story to understand what that means. Besides Batman, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, it has me excited. As long as James Gunn maybe keeps his hands off the work a little bit. But is he directing the next Superman film as well?
It's called Man of Tomorrow.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and he has said it's not a Superman sequel. It is a sequel in the sense that it's continuing the story.
Right.
But it's not titled Superman 2 or Superman : Man of Tomorrow. But yes, he is for sure directing it. I think he's writing it as well.
Sure.
So yeah, that's something as well that I've seen a lot of online discourse about because, kids, for those of you that don't know, James Gunn is the co-lead of the studio.
Yeah.
He's part of the creative side of things, where his producing partner Peter Safran is more of the financial, stuff like that. And so James Gunn is very much in the position of a Kevin Feige role. Yes, we're doing this. We're not doing this. Change this. Yada yada. Beyond just making decisions, he's now also directing and writing as well. I don't know how he can do all those things and execute them well. And that's kind of the crux of the conversation I'm seeing online. They feel that he's already spread too thin. We're now going to get diminished results. Regardless of what that may be or not, I'll say this. I don't necessarily want the James Gunn universe.
Yeah.
Like you said, with Supergirl, different director, different writer, hopefully a different flavor of movie. Same with Clayface coming out later this year as well.
Yeah.
Very different in terms of director, writer, and genre.
Mm-hmm.
Appealing much more to a horror side of things. Yeah, I like James Gunn. I like the majority of his movies. I don't want to see 20 chapters of James Gunn stuff.
No, I think I agree. I think he's doing the right thing by having a lot of different voices into the pot.
Yeah.
Because you do want to see, I would never go see a James Gunn Batman. I'm sorry, I would not want to go see that movie because his style just wouldn't work based on his history. But I think having the different voices show up would be great, and I hope that they bring some better results.
Yeah.
In general.
No, I agree as well. Yeah, we'll get to the future of the DC slate here a little later in the show here. Let's continue on with the 2025 movies. The next one, keeping it in the world of superheroes, moving to a different universe though. The Fantastic Four First Steps, the fourth attempt at a Fantastic Four movie. And in my opinion, this one stuck the landing.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be honest, despite me loving Superman, Spider-Man, having the art all around my place and whatnot, having literal comic books in my collection as well, Fantastic Four, I've never liked them. I think the characters are kind of lame. I think they're derivative. There's the Thing, you have the Hulk. Mr. Fantastic, his ability is that he could stretch, you know. Then you have the Human Torch. I raise you Sunspot and Pyro from the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this movie though not only made me a fan of the team, but I also just thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this movie. What's your thoughts on Fantastic Four First Steps?
I agree. I think this movie was really excellent and probably one of my favorite watches of the year. Theater experiences too. I think its strong points for me were the music, actually.
Yes.
Which I'm disappointed didn't get Oscar nominated, but that's another story. I think going for that 60s era, 50s era, post, whatever future.
The retro future.
The retro future, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Kind of Art Deco vibes. I think that was a really strong point for me, was seeing, it's just fun seeing heroes in a different time.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that was really cool to see the retro future aspect put into full result there. And I think the story was really well rounded. The acting was great all around. I think one thing too was that they focused a lot on Reed Richards' intellect as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't really see him stretch that much in the movie.
No, you don't.
Outside of a couple scenes, but again, he essentially saves the planet by just having a brain.
Yeah,
that's insane.
He's
so
the thinking man.
Yeah, which is cool that they leaned into that as well.
Yeah,
and I think the best acted role was probably Sue Storm from Vanessa Kirby. Yes. I think that was a really excellent casting choice.
She's incredible.
Yeah, that was an excellent casting choice. Yeah, I thought the villain was cool. Delatis was really well done.
Yeah.
Silver Surfer was really cool.
I thought she was awesome.
And I think they used a lot of practical sets for the most part, as well as I think they had practical models that they shot for the ship.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. If they did that, you can really tell. So I'm sure the last time that was done was Star Wars in the 80s.
Yeah.
But I think having that physical touch to it was really nice. And
Yeah.
Obviously there was CGI in it, but it was grounded in a way.
There was a grounded aspect.
Yeah.
There were many points you feel like you could reach out and touch it.
Yeah, it was believable.
Probably honestly could.
Right. Yeah, it was very believable. So I really enjoyed that film, and especially for the music too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about the space sequences though?
That was excellent.
Oh my gosh, they were winking and nodding to Interstellar a few times.
Very very good. Yeah.
With the faster than light travel, with the black hole stuff. I love that. I love that they showed energy manipulation, time manipulation. Like they're flying in their ship and they're like, we can't escape the Silver Surfer. She's too fast. They're like, get close to the black hole. We'll slingshot. Hopefully she doesn't. She gets sucked in.
Yeah.
She does, and you see her kind of stretch and bend and whatnot. Oh, I just thought that this thing impressed me from a visual perspective, story perspective, villain perspective, just overall characters. I thought it was really, really cool. I will say I'm happy to have been proven wrong on this, but leading up to the movie, I was a little miffed that Pedro Pascal was cast as Reed Richards.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he is kind of a overexposed actor right now. He's in The Last of Us. He was in another thing as well, some drama, and then he's now joining the MCU. Great actor, God bless him. He's incredible. But I never saw him as a Reed Richards type of character either. Again, having seen the movie now, I will happily shut up. I think he did a good job. But that was kind of my one sticking point was, like you said, Vanessa Kirby crushed it as the Invisible Woman, and Pascal did good with Reed Richards, but I don't know. I would have liked maybe a little more from him.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed his casting for the most part. I will say at least it wasn't Chris Pratt. Thank God he already had to roll somewhere else in the universe. I think they wanted a strong leading man. I'm glad that they went with him because he, I think his character is meant to be kind of timid and a little bit loner-ish.
Yep.
But I think he played that pretty well, and I think he had that little hint of transatlantic accent as well, which worked pretty well. So I always love hearing that from any actor. I don't know who I would have had instead of him. I think he was he deserves a spot in the MCU for sure
Oh, 100%.
after what he's done. So I think
Yeah.
I think that was a good starting spot for him, was to be as Reed Richards.
Yeah, no, that's cool, and I'm looking forward to their return in Doomsday, which is something I didn't think I'd be saying again because I wasn't a fan of the Fantastic Four,
Mhm.
but now I am. So fourth time's the charm. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, moving on now to the next movie from 2025, taking it to a totally different genre. We have The Naked Gun, 2025's Naked Gun. You know, this is a genre of movie that has frankly kind of died, and diminished. We're talking about the spoof movie, things like Airplane, Scary Movie, Hot Shots. Those things were just, at least in my opinion, it always seemed like they were consistently on. I don't think I've ever laughed harder or longer during a movie than from watching Airplane, like literal tears streaming down my face, And then you had that lead actor in there, Leslie Nelson, I think is his name. One of the best in the business to do it. Comedy as a whole in filmmaking, I think, is kind of hard to do. Frankly, we really have been getting our helping of that in Marvel movies. It's really where our most consistent comedy comes from. There aren't many comedic films that I can think of, that have released since 2010, which is a bummer. A lot of that other, again, lives in Marvel or on TV and whatnot. This is not only a response to wanting to do a straight comedy. It's also wanting to do a spoof comedy. And it's also wanting to do essentially a reboot of one of the greatest spoof series, in existence. What's your thoughts on The Naked Gun?
I, for the most part, enjoyed it. I think it kind of held back a little bit, maybe at some points, where it could have made some pretty crazy meta jokes, but it just didn't. Again, the story is never usually something to write home about in these kinds of movies, because that's not really the point.
Yeah.
But I think Liam Neeson was an excellent casting choice. If it wouldn't have been him, I think it would have been Keanu Reeves. But I think Liam Neeson nailed the physical aspect of it pretty well.
Yeah.
Again, how much of it was CGI, I don't know, but probably a lot, knowing him. But I think he was excellent at just doing the deadpan delivery.
Yeah.
Channeling that Leslie Nielsen type. But I think what those movies really excel in is the physical comedy, which is, it's a physical dance more than just the line dance.
Yeah.
Was it as strong as the original three? I don't think so. But I think it did excel in, again, the physical comedy. That opening sequence where he's like biting off people's guns is pretty funny. But I think they could have gone further with the jokes. But I don't know how much further, but I think, a lot of the jokes in the old ones are pretty edgy. And these ones didn't quite get to that part.
Yeah. I think a lot of these jokes, like you said, I think you kind of nailed it. They kind of were reserved in this one. A lot of them I thought were just kind of stupid, silly, And I don't mean stupid like in a fully demeaning way. I just mean it like, it was more so silly. Like I remember, at one point, they're visiting like a junkyard, looking at cars or whatnot. Like there's this giant claw machine that goes over it, and all that stuff. And there were other things in there as well. Really, really funny though. For me, if I'm gonna see a comedic movie, all I ask is that you make me laugh.
Yeah.
That's truly all I ask. You're right. I don't go in for Shakespeare. I don't necessarily even go in for good performances. And when when you're watching a movie and there's a clear comedic bit and no one laughs, that silence
speaks volumes.
Oh my gosh, it's like having a brick dropped on you. Thankfully for myself, there weren't many moments like that when I saw it in the theater. And I saw it in a decent crowd too. And there were lots of laughs. So The Naked Gun, I don't know what the plans are going forward. I don't know if they're going to do another one. I don't know if they're going to reboot Hot Shots, Airplane, but I do hope it ushers in a new era of spoof movies. Do you have any thoughts on what could come next? What would you like to see next?
An Airplane would be interesting in a post 9/11 world. I think they'd have a lot of ammunition there for that. No pun intended. But I think that'd be an interesting remake. I don't know, again, for casting who that would be. Way down the road, obviously. But I think the spoof movie is a very slept on formula right now. like you were saying, there really aren't that many anymore, if any, really.
Yeah.
And I think just people need that laugh now. So
Oh, yeah.
I think it'd be a good arena to get back into for some directors. I don't know I'm not familiar with any comedy directors off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I can't even remember who directed Naked Gun, to be honest.
I can't, unfortunately.
Is that all right? Yeah. So hopefully they can do more. I
Yeah.
think it'd be fun to see Liam Neeson just say, screw it, I'm going to do an Airplane reboot.
Well, I was going to ask,
Yeah.
because Leslie Nielsen is both in Naked Gun and Airplane.
Yeah.
Do you think they would just carry over?
That would be pretty funny if they did that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be enjoyable. But yeah, I'd love to see something a little bit more edgy out of it. Because again, like with Naked Gun, I think there were some lines where I was expecting a joke, and then they're like, oh,
Yeah.
then they just moved on. I was like, oh,
Right.
Like there was some lines that were actually serious in there, and I was like,
Yep.
waiting for the punchline to happen, and there wasn't one, and they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I think that was what was great about the original Naked Guns and Airplane, where there was a joke in almost every line, if not every line, which is great. But I think this one was just missing out on some opportunities there.
Yeah. I, as much as I just said, I want this genre to continue on. That's a big ask, because Airplane, to me, it's not my favorite comedy, like, ever, but it's the one I literally have laughed at the most, because you're right, there's never a dull moment.
Yeah.
You never get a moment to catch your breath, which is part of the charm of it, whereas this one, you had too much time to catch your breath. Like you said, there were too many quiet moments, or just a joke did not come when it was supposed to, or if it did, it went out with a whimper,
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. You kind of got me thinking, though, about when you name drop Keanu Reeves. In a world where Neeson doesn't come back for Airplane, I would love to see Reeves step into the Airplane world.
That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty wild. Okay, moving on now. Just a couple more films left for 2025. October's Tron Ares.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about Joseph Kosinski earlier, and he directed Tron Legacy. In my opinion, he nailed it. He crushed it. Tron Legacy gets better with every watch, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I actually saw that in a theater when it came out. I wasn't very old, and I was expecting, in my opinion, something on the level of like Transformers, where it's like constant action, constantly cool imagery, and it does. It looks amazing the whole way through, but you know what I mean. And that movie is much more somber. That one's more reserved, intentionally reserved, but it's very sophisticated. Whereas now, me being an adult, I love Tron Legacy. I think it's amazing. We go years and years. There's all this talk about there potentially being a follow-up. They're going to continue on the Legacy route. Allegedly, at one point, Kosinski was going to come back himself and direct this. Who knows? In comes Tron Ares, and it brings in Jared Leto.
Why not?
Which in of itself is not a glowing endorsement for your movie.
No. And
in my opinion, the biggest fault of Tron Ares was the fact that I think it wanted to be a Legacy sequel so bad, but it just wasn't. It never committed to that line. What's your thoughts on Ares? Yeah,
I'd agree. I don't know if they just couldn't get the actors back from Legacy or what. The furthest they went was they had that picture show up.
Yep.
And then they're like, well, maybe in the sequel, he'll go find them. Mm-hmm. There won't be a sequel. I think generally the movie had a couple of strong points, but to me, the movie just spent so much time in the real world. It wasn't that interesting to me. I like the best part about Legacy is that it's pretty much entirely in the grid.
Yeah.
In this one, you see the grid for maybe a third of the movie total, maybe 2/3, if that, probably a third. And I think that's where the movie excels. Is like Legacy was a visual effects marathon.
Oh my gosh!
But this one, a lot of the action was taking place in the real world, which to me just isn't that interesting.
I agree.
I think that world is best lived in that world.
Yeah.
And when it comes outside, it's a cool story element, I guess, to have them like invade Earth or whatever.
Sure.
But when you just see like all this cool alien sci-fi technology come out into the real world, you're like, it's just a bunch of buildings still.
Yeah.
I think it would have been cooler to see a more detailed version of the grid that we saw in Legacy.
Yeah.
Even though I know it's a completely different grid, I guess, but
well, that in itself is a bag of weeds, because I watched Tron Legacy instead of the same week of seeing Ares, and so I had it all fresh in my mind, and the whole the grid setup. I have no idea, but yeah, I will commend them for trying to do something different because both in Tron, the original, and in Legacy, it's humans going into the grid. So for this one, they said, let's make it different. We're gonna have the grid come into the real world. Okay, cool-ish, but you're right. Just not very entertaining, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's all these constraints, and it's like we want to see the grid because it's a alien world essentially. I know you said it's not aliens, but you know what I mean. Like it's new, it's inviting.
Yeah.
This they're fighting in downtown LA or wherever it took place, And I also thought that like the literal physics of the movie weren't that great because like you said, it's a whole new grid system, which that in itself kind of boggles my mind. But one thing I distinctly remember is that the characters on the light cycles, the red light cycles, they're chasing down what's her face, some scientist, doctor, girl, and they do a loop-de-loop around her. They close her in with the light trail of the light cycles. Remember, at one point she touches the light trail.
Yeah.
She's like, a force field. Well, pardon my French, but like I thought that the Tron light trails, I thought that the light cycles and light discs were like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I thought if you touch it, or if any part of it touches you, it's gone, or you're dead. And she just pokes it, And we're like a third into the movie, and I was like, okay. I was like, if you can't even get your own physics and mythology right, I was like, we're in for a tough sled here.
I will say, I guess in Legacy, they did have that, and the light cycle sequence where they're playing the game. There is one scene where they don't necessarily vaporize as soon as they get hit by the trail, but there's like one scene where they like trap one of the players between the two trails and kind of bounce back and forth.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they narrow. They're driving side by side.
Yeah.
Two bikes driving side by side to a third, then they meet.
Yeah, and then they like the middle guy kind of bounces off. So kind of is there, but again, she should have taken a little bit of damage for that.
Yeah,
at least.
She should have got burned at least.
Because otherwise, like, what's the point of the trail?
Exactly.
And the trail does cut that police car in half, I guess, which was kind of cool, and the airplane.
Yeah. That was a cool show.
But still, like, I'm sure it was a little bit ignorant of the physics there.
I will say this. I don't defend the casting choice of Leto, but I'll say this. He didn't find enough of the material.
Yeah.
I did not think he was the crippling factor of that movie.
No.
I thought he played a robot type figure pretty well enough. Why he keeps getting these roles, I don't know. He was in Blade Runner 2049. Actually, I liked him in that, not gonna lie. But then he goes and plays the Joker, kind of. Then he's Skeletor in Masters of the Universe. Who knows?
It's fitting, but yeah.
It's fitting, I suppose. That's right. A big hallmark, though, of Tron Legacy is the music. Daft Punk, arguably presenting one of the best, if not the best, film scores in existence. I do think it's on the level of like a Superman or a Star Wars. It's that good. I listen to it consistently. Much like you with Superman, there is one track that I have from the Ares score on my phone that I listen to. It's all right. What's your thoughts now on the Tron Ares soundtrack?
I think they were trying to go for the edgier, grittier feel for the music. So it's a lot of like very messy synths.
Yep.
Again, I think I just have that one song, like the whatever you want me to be or whatever. I forgot the name of it. It's the one with the actual lyrics to it. That's the only one I have on my playlist. I think beyond that, it wasn't that interesting. The title, the track that plays during the credits was pretty cool.
Yep.
But then the rest of it didn't sound like that. Yeah. So I was just like, oh, whatever. But yeah, you're going back to Legacy. That's such a richly textured score. And the fact that they use real orchestra along with the synths was a big plus for me too. I don't really know why they didn't do that approach this time, but it was Nine Inch Nails doing their own thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
I understand their intent was to be a little bit grittier with like the whole war-focused grid and whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think it pulled that off that well. So
if I was in charge of Disney, or at least that movie at that time, even though Daft Punk broke up, I would have at least made a phone call to them. I would have said, "Hey, don't call it a reunion. Don't gotta go on tour, but like,
or just bring one of them back.
Yeah, just one. Here's a blank check,
right?
Please, our sequel to Legacy as a movie, do a sequel to Legacy the soundtrack. Yeah, I've never been a big Nine Inch Nails guy.
Yeah.
So, whatever. I would love a fourth Tron movie, like you said, but I don't think we're ever going to get it.
No, I'll be retired by the time that comes out, so I'll have time to enjoy it more. But
yeah,
I don't think we won't be seeing that for a while.
I guess that's right. That's how that would work. We got the first one in the 80s, second one in the 2010s. So now we're going to get we got the third one now in 2025, so we'll get the fourth one in
2050-ish.
Yeah, 2050.
Yeah, fair enough. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I'll see you at the movies then in 2050. Moving on now from Tron Legacy into another franchise that also just had its third entry, Avatar: Fire and Ash. Still in theaters right now at the time of this recording. It is James Cameron doing his Avatar universe once again. People love to talk about these movies, say that it has, quote, no cultural footprint. I disagree. Saying it's derivative. It's the space version of Dancing with Wolves, even if that's true. Great. It's using a formula that I think works. I love the Avatar movies. I saw Avatar. I missed Avatar 1 in theaters in its original run because I was just a kid. I did see it for a re-release leading into 2. And then I saw Avatar 2, The Way of Water, I think either 4 or 5 times in theaters. Love that movie. I think it's amazing. Avatar 3 comes out. I've seen it, but I've only seen it once. And of the 3, it is my least favorite of the 3 thus far. And I will watch it again at some point, probably honestly on Disney Plus, and I will still go see a 4th one if that comes out. But yeah, what's your thoughts on Avatar 3?
I enjoyed it for the most part.
Good.
I think seeing it as a sequel to Way of Water, not the original, there's such a long form storytelling going on here. It's hard to picture I think what he intended to do, what Cameron intended to do was say Way of Water and Fire of Ash are technically the second movie. Yeah,
they very much are linked together.
And I think it benefited that it wasn't, a 14-year whatever gap between the two again. But I think Fire and Ash just had a lot more character development, which was interesting to me. Because honestly, my issue with Way of Water was it just took way too long to get anything going. Which I think maybe part of it was hey, we're in Avatar again. Here you get to see all these creatures for the next hour, and then we'll start doing the story.
Yeah.
It was a little bit repetitive in the third one for sure, as far as some story beats. And really the ending fight was just the fight from Way of Water, but with more people in it.
Yep.
Still amazing to watch. Obviously the visual effects, it'll win. I don't even know if it was nominated for it, but it'll probably win the Oscar for that.
How can it not be nominated?
Yeah. The visuals were obviously very stellar. I think the music was excellent again by Simon Franklin. I know it made its $1.5 billion already or whatever, which is fine. For a sequel, I think people are itching for it to go in a different direction as far as a different we have the water already. I think people were expecting, and I was expecting to see a lot more of the fire aspect of of the planet Pandora. And you see it in 1 or 2 scenes.
Yeah.
You see the forgot the name of the fire clan, but Varan's people.
Yeah.
You see their home camp for a little bit in a dusty, kind of ashy setting.
Yeah.
That's about it.
It
would have been interesting to move away from the water a little bit more in towards that. But again, I could see that it's very grand storytelling, grand scale, painstaking time. Unfortunately, a lot of audiences don't have that time. So they kind of want to see things happen right away. But it's just one of those things where if this franchise takes 30 years to fully get it told, it's just, I don't know. They'll have to make some sacrifices along the way as far as, time for the stories. I hope he does it to make a 4th one. I'm hoping that there's some actual different stuff that happens there.
Yeah.
But I did appreciate 3 overall for the visuals, obviously, and for character growth, because I think there were some character moments that really needed to happen.
Yeah.
That you were kind of waiting for them to happen in the second one. So it was nice to see some movement there. I just hope that they get away from Quaritch, whatever his name is. Quaritch. I hope they get away from him a little bit more in the next one, as far as he's been kind of played out for me a little bit. It's just now it's in 3 movies where he's not dead. But yeah, I overall enjoyed the film. I think the music was great. I think the visuals are great. I just want to see it in a different setting.
Yeah.
And that's one for sure.
Yeah, I think that's you kind of took the words out of my mouth here. I think that's my biggest issue with the movie is that for a movie called Avatar: Fire and Ash, there's not a lot of fire or ash in it. I was really hoping that, the movie would literally take place on a mountain range or on volcanoes.
Yeah.
You'd have our heroes, Jake and the Sully clan of the forest Na'vi with the ocean Na'vi. I would have really liked them to have literally been out of their element, and so now you have these ocean people, their strength comes from water. What happens if you strip the water away from them? They're fighting on a mountain now, and they're just hand-to-hand stuff. They can't rely on anything. I really thought they were going to give us the Empire Strikes Back of they kind of just get decimated left and right. Didn't really end up happening. And allegedly, regarding whether it's the fourth or the fifth movie, because there are plans, I think, at least on the calendar, Avatar 4 is supposed to come out in 2028, and I think Avatar 5 is supposed to come out in 2031, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
In one of those movies, I've heard James Cameron talk about how he wants to eventually get the story back to Earth. Because we haven't really seen much of Earth. In the first movie, you see it just for glimpses. You see more of it in deleted scenes, honestly, on the Blu-ray and whatnot. And I think it'd be really interesting to talk about, or to show what they've been talking about, how Earth is depleted of everything, so much so that you have to go to Pandora and look for resources and look to colonize a new world. Those that do remain on Earth, they're probably not living their best lives. So I think you're right. I think whether it's in the fourth or the fifth movie, they do need to completely change terrain, probably change planets, honestly. And there's this rumor that we're going to see Earth again at some point in Avatar.
I think one direction that would be interesting for me to see happen would be, I can't remember the name of the girl that's connected to Awa. Kiri. I'm betting that the plan is that she'll be so intertwined with Awa that she'll bring Awa back to Earth and heal it.
You probably just nailed it.
Yeah.
I bet, I'm being sincere. I bet you honestly nailed it.
I think that's probably what's about to happen, because obviously her character is going to grow more with Awa.
Yeah.
And she's going to be probably just a god at some point.
And that's very James Cameron.
Yeah. It's very bringing back nature to Earth and that kind of thing. So I'm betting that's what the direction that they'll go in, which is a cool direction.
Very cool.
But I'm wondering, if something so terrible happens to Pandora, like maybe Quaritch just gases the planet somehow and makes it uninhabitable.
Yep.
And then all of the Na'vi are like, well, okay. And then they have to leave, and then they go to Earth.
Yeah.
But just now there's that element of the humans are starting to be able to breathe the Na'vi air now pretty well. So now I'm wondering if Quaritch is going to see that. I'd be like, well, what if I just make the air unbreathable to Na'vi?
Yeah.
By making it more like our atmosphere back on Earth, that kind of thing, making them push off Pandora and go back to Earth or something like that. I'm not sure what they would do.
I bet you're nailing it though, because they kind of even work with that a little bit in this one, where they had that spider kid who does become, he grows accustomed to the atmosphere, and there's all this talk about if the people of Earth get him, the RDA, they could synthesize that kind of formula, and they could put it into everyone, meaning they're that much stronger, So I bet you're nailing it right now, with that being a factor of it. I bet come the fourth or the fifth movie, probably when this whole thing's wrapped up, there probably will be some, we can live on the planet together now. Yeah. Homeostasis type deal.
Yeah.
Who knows? There's all this talk though about, will there be a fourth one? Who knows? Because apparently $1.5 billion isn't enough money.
Doesn't cut it.
James Cameron's talking about how he's been consumed with just this franchise going on over 2 decades now, or just coming up on 2 decades. The first one was 2008, I believe. There's talk that he might step down from the director position. He might just be a writer producer. It was funny when he said that James Wan of Aquaman and other movie fame, he said, I would love to do it. Who knows? Say Avatar 4 is coming out, but Cameron doesn't direct. What's your thoughts?
If Spielberg's up for it,
that'd be awesome.
I'd say Spielberg, but again, he's probably got a lot on his plate too. I'm sure he wants to just do smaller stuff now. I don't know if he wants to do something huge anymore. But as far as grand focus, I think that's who would first come into my head.
Yeah.
Because really, Nolan probably wouldn't touch it because it's franchise. Or already established franchise. Even if obviously Cameron would still have a role in it. Even if he wasn't directing, he'd probably still produce and all
Oh yeah,
that.
he'd be a hands-on producer.
Yeah, he'd still be in there. He'd be like George Lucas, and
Yep.
after he was done. But I think I don't. Again, my fan cast would be Spielberg, but
Yeah.
that won't happen. I bet Cameron will do at least one more if
Yeah.
they approve it. Again, I don't know. Like you were saying, I feel like they filmed a lot of 4 already.
I hope so. I think that was the plan. Was to shoot it in one batch because it takes so long to make the darn thing.
Because really, like they didn't. If you're saying that their 4th one's scheduled for 2028, that's really not that much of a turnaround.
Yeah.
So I bet they've already filmed at least half of it, if not more.
Yeah.
So then,
I bet they film in 26, use all of 27 for post production,
right?
Part of 28 even for post production. Then you have to roll out because it comes out in December.
Yeah,
you're probably right.
Yeah.
It'd be a real shame. There's no way they do this where they film it all and they're like, we just can't do it.
No, they wouldn't be able to do. There's so much money sitting there for that to be made. Like, and I'd be interested to see the numbers on how much it would cost to make 4 and 5 in addition to the cost for the rest of them.
Yeah.
But like, if they've made like what $3 billion already, at least probably close to 4 now.
Yeah.
Like,
the average per film is almost $2 billion.
Just let them make the rest of them.
Just let them.
Just let them finish it out. It's like again, it's like stopping it's like stopping Mission Impossible at number 4. It's like just let them finish it off.
Yeah. I will say though, as much as I love these movies, and I don't think you can necessarily disconnect Cameron from it. I would love to see him go do something else. Yeah. He is the king of sequels and whatnot, Aliens, T2, now Avatar, and so on and so forth. I would love to see him either do a straightforward drama, do a period piece, something. So, again, I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want him to finish out his story. I want him to do Avatar 4 and 5, frankly, but I also want him to do other things. And he's not getting any younger, so
I think there was talk about him doing some Hiroshima story.
Yes.
Drama.
I think he bought the Red School book about it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see him do that as like a vacation from Avatar. He's
going to do his Oppenheimer.
Right, yeah. That'd be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see him step away and do something completely different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope he stays under 4. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, we've gone through almost the full year of 2025 from a calendar perspective, starting in February with Captain America 4, now moving into December with Avatar 3. We are now in Oscar season, and some movies have been nominated that I haven't seen, some I have seen, vice versa for you as well. We're both big movie fans. We love to quote movies. We love to talk movies. We're doing this right now, talking about this on this podcast. Mm. So we're both looking forward to the Oscars. At least, if I can, say that for us and whatnot. Yeah. What's your thoughts on the nominations? Do you think there were any snubs? Do you think that are deserving to win? Stuff like that. What's your thoughts on the Oscar race?
I think, and I haven't read too deeply into the list, to be honest, of nominations, but I think one big snub for me was music for Fantastic Four. I think Michael Giacchino put a lot of his soul into that movie's music and didn't get any recognition for it, which is disappointing to say.
Yeah.
As far as for best score, I'm guessing it'll be Ludwig for Sinners.
Yeah.
If not, I forgot his name, for the composer for Bugonia. Bugonia was my favorite score of the year, actually.
Yeah.
Just for the creative process that was involved in it, and it was a beautiful score.
Yeah.
But it'll be Ludwig. It's Ludwig.
It's Ludwig.
And fully deserved, because I thought Sinners was really well done, especially music perspective. Mm-hmm. Best picture, I again would have to look at the list.
In my opinion, that's a 3-horse race.
Yeah.
Between One Battle After Another, Marty Supreme, and Sinners.
Yeah.
And if I had a gun to my head, I bet One Battle takes it.
Probably.
I don't necessarily think it should. I think maybe either Marty or Sinners. But going back to Bugonia for a minute, that's a movie that I have not seen. But when you and I talked about it, you've given it glowing reviews, saying it's great. Emma Stone, I believe, is nominated for Best Actress from that movie, and you said that you liked the story, you liked the music as well. Yeah, for someone who hasn't seen Bugonia, what's your thoughts on that movie?
I would say it's very similar to 10 Cloverfield Lane in a way.
Far out.
Maybe not quite as fantastical, but it's essentially just an abduction story where this biotech CEO is played by Emma Stone is kidnapped by a couple of conspiracy theorists that think she's an alien, and that's essentially the story. It's the exploration of this psychological war that pretty much happens between Jesse Plemons' character and Emma Stone's character, and it has a very interesting ending, I'll say. But yeah, I think the music was definitely a standout for me. And when I read about the music process for the creation process of the music for that film, what had happened was the director, Yorgos, had basically given the composer, I think, a set of like 5 or 6 words, and that was it, about like what the movie is about. And then he was like, "Go write the score, come back, and we'll figure it out." And he was like, "Okay." So then he wrote this beautiful music for, I think some of the words are like bees or basement or something like that. Kind of encapsulating parts of the movie. And he wrote the score based on what he thought the story was about. And then the music came out and it worked so well with the movie. And it was, which is really weird because like you would think that there'd be such a disconnect there. But there was a specific scene in the movie where it's just Jesse Plemons biking to his work or something. It's a 2-minute scene. The music is like Star Wars level, like explosively brassy, and it's just him riding a bike.
High praise.
Which is really interesting because it's a very small moment, but you think that there's something grander happening behind what's going on. And I think that was kind of what, it was kind of going into the mind of that character, which maybe that wasn't what the composer was expecting, but it was a really well done movie just for that and for the acting as well and for the very shock ending, I would say. So. Yeah, I would say Emma Stone probably will win for that. Because it was a very strong performance from her.
I don't think it was nominated for Best Picture. Do you think it should have been if it wasn't?
I don't think so. I think it was up there. I don't think it would. If it was nominated, it wouldn't have won. I don't think.
Okay. I just gotta take a quick break. I gotta use the bathroom.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, and we're back. Yeah, I gotta be honest. I did not see Bugonia because I didn't like the trailers. But your review of it, your commentary on it, makes me want to see the movie.
It's worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. I wish I could say the same about some other movies that have been nominated, because I saw Marty Supreme. You have not seen it yet. I gotta be honest, I didn't really care for the movie. Timothée Chalamet is incredible. I've never seen him given a bad performance. He will honestly probably win the award for Best Actor, if not DiCaprio, in my opinion. He himself was great in it. I wasn't a fan of the movie overall, though, because my biggest fault with it is that for a movie about ping pong, there wasn't a lot of ping pong in it. There was a lot of talking and walking and meandering, and it's like things just happen, because throughout the movie, he's trying to get this money so he can. The whole crux of it is that he wants to play in this tournament held in Japan, but he's not like sponsored, so he has to pay his own way to get to Japan. And so he'll go into like bowling alleys to have a ping pong table, and he'll hustle. Hey, anyone want to play a game? $10 or whatever. I'm not that good. And he cleans up, and then but then it goes into, okay, with that money, he's going to get a hotel room for the night. He's going to save most of it, but spend some of it, yada yada. And there's a problem with the hotel, and that becomes part of it. And then all this stuff happens. And it's like, just focus on the ping pong of it all. I think the movie could have been a half hour shorter. It could have been lighter and meaner and leaner and all that stuff. So, yeah, in the way you can recommend Bugonia to me, I can't recommend Marty Supreme. For Chalamet, I could, and it's a period piece, which I love period piece movies. It looks great, but from a story-wise thing, I don't know. I think Chalamet is deserving of Best Actor, perhaps. Even though I haven't seen all the movies that have been nominated for that. I don't think it will or should win Best Picture, in my opinion. Let's keep going with this trend, though. You saw Sinners.
Yeah.
This is another movie that's getting a whole bunch of accolades. Did very well, critically as well. Fun fact, when this was in theaters, was the same time that Revenge of the Sith was in theaters for its re-release. At one of our local theaters, the Century Cinema, here in Fargo, there were lines quite literally out the door to see both those movies. And I remember I stood in the cold for Revenge of the Sith for a little bit, and it was pretty crazy. I didn't realize how big Sinners was going to be. Turns out it was one of the biggest films of the year, And like I said, now it's getting all this award consideration. The only reason I did not see it, and I'm just being honest, I'm not a big fan of scary movies,
Yeah.
and it looked a little scary to me.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only reason
that's
why.
fair. Yeah.
You know, but you have seen it. So
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on Sinners?
So Sinners is like a strange movie to me because it's half somewhat scary. I'm not going to say it's a fully horror movie.
Yeah.
Definitely not. But like, so the first half of the film is this really great kind of folksy look at the South in the 1930s, which, you know, probably wasn't all that great for the cast involved. But it's very atmospheric, which I enjoyed. And then the vampires show up. And you're like, okay, so now this is a slasher film. What is this supposed to... There's kind of an allegory, metaphor, what have you, going on with the vampires showing up and everything, and it's great. But then once the vampires show up, it kind of cheapens the movie to me. I feel it's very just traditional slasher, and there's a lot of things that are... A lot of logic just thrown out the window at some points, where there's a scene where you see like a vampire flying in the air and then going to attack somebody, and you're like, wow, they're really overpowered. That's great.
Okay.
And then there's a fight sequence at the end where all the vampires come into that house or whatever, the juke facility, and then they start battling it out with the rest of the humans. But they don't have any of those superpowers anymore suddenly. And it's very like noticeably like a fair fight when it shouldn't have been. I think the music was excellent. There's a great sequence where there's like... One thing I wish they would have explored more in the film was that they talked about how there's some musicians that can literally call people from the spirit world to be with them as they're playing music. Really cool element. And they talked about that in one sequence where he's playing the blues. There's a character playing the blues, and he's playing so in tune with the universe that there's other people from different cultures playing similar music at the same time. So it'll like pan around the room where somebody's like DJing the same exact track that's doing, or there's somebody like from Japan using the fans or whatever, and it's really interesting to see. Somebody's breakdancing in the corner. That was a really cool sequence. I thought
it's appealing to cultures. Then.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Talks about how like all these different people from different cultures that have passed on are, you know, contributing to the music at the same time. And they literally burned the house down in this sequence, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I think the ending was once the vampire showed up, it just was like, okay, they just needed some action, I think. And then they're like, well, what if it's actually a vampire film? And well, okay. But I think the acting was excellent by Michael B. Jordan for both roles.
He's nominated for Best Actor.
Yep, because he's playing the Perry brothers.
Yeah. And
then I really enjoyed the acting of, I can't remember his name, the supporting actor as well, who plays the musician that plays the blues really well. Yeah. I thought it was an excellent film in the first half.
Yeah.
And then the second half came, and I was like, why would they go this direction? So generally, I'm sure it'll win a lot of awards because there's a lot of star power in it. And
it's nominated like in almost every category.
16, I think. Yeah, 16 categories. And I'm sure it'll win for probably cinematography, I would think. Because there were some really nice shots in there for sure. It'll win for music, probably costume design if it's even nominated for that. I'm not sure.
People think Michael B. Jordan should win just for the workload alone.
Yeah,
that he's playing two roles.
Possibly. Yeah, I could see it. It was pretty good. It was in some ways similar to his like performance in Black Panther in a way, but I haven't seen enough of him to fully get a good opinion of him. But he was working hard in Sinners for sure.
And then another movie that we have both seen, it's also nominated in several categories, is One Battle After Another, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson.
And I've actually not seen it.
Oh, you haven't?
I've not seen it. I'm sorry. No, you're good.
I don't mean to speak for you though.
You're good.
Directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, starring DiCaprio and Sean Penn in the supporting role. He plays kind of the villain of it. DiCaprio is one of the best to do it. I gotta be honest, I don't know why he got nominated for this one. You know what I mean? Like, nominated for Revenant, you bet. I mean, he's doing everything there. Nominated for, Wolf of Wall Street, I don't know if he was or not, but like, if he was to get nominated for Wolf of Wall Street, totally get it. Same with even something like The Aviator. Like, I'm like, give him Titanic, he's incredible. When I saw this movie, I thought, like, he's just being kind of simple. He's not really doing a whole lot in it. It's just a lot of him just running and rambling and whatnot. Maybe that's the goal of everything is that he's so immersed in it. I just think, oh, he's not even acting. He's just being this dude. Maybe that's why. But like, I saw the movie. I did not think it was all that. I mean, you know, like it's there. You know, I just, you know, will I ever watch it again? Probably not. Do I think it was really entertaining? Not really. The performance is incredible. If anyone should win from that, I believe Sean Penn should win for being this just. He's the kind of villain you just want to see get brought down. I mean, he's just so slimy. But yeah, so my apologies for thinking that you had seen one battle after another.
No, you're good.
But yeah, kind of like Marty Supreme, I can't give a glowing endorsement beyond just like watching good performances because I didn't think the story was all that. And honestly, for someone like you who's very musically, you know, inclined and whatnot, I think the music is forgettable. I can't think of anything from it as I'm just talking about the movie now. So yeah, but it's supposedly gonna win Best Picture, if not Best Actor. What's your thoughts on One Battle from what you know about it?
I probably will say it won't win for Best Actor. I would think. That's probably gonna go to Timothy. I would think.
Yeah.
Because I think his time has come. Best Picture probably not as well. I'm betting Sinners will get Best Picture. But yeah, again, not having seen it, I don't have too much opinion on it. But
yeah,
just from reading the vibe of the Oscars, it kind of feels like Timothy's gonna get it.
Yeah.
And then One Battle may get Movie of the Year. It's hard to tell for me. It's kind of a like you're saying, it's a 3-horse race for sure. So kind of an equal footing there with Sinners and what was the other one?
Sinners, Marty Supreme, and One Battle.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Are the real 3-horse races.
That's for sure. Yeah.
My dark horse for the Oscars is F1 for Best Picture.
Yeah, I can see it.
I don't think it has a real strong shot, but it's there. It's
nominated. Yeah, it was good enough to be nominated. Yeah. I still haven't seen Frankenstein either.
I didn't either.
Yeah, it wasn't one that I was fully interested in watching.
Same. Yeah.
But yeah, I hope. My hope is that F1 gets it.
Yeah.
It won't, but I hope.
Would be really nice.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a left field approach for that movie, but it was. I'm frankly stunned that it was even nominated for Best Picture because usually those kinds of movies don't.
Right.
A lot of the time, but I hope it does get it because I think that is well deserved.
This is a surprise. Yeah, we both want F1 to win. You think Sinners might win for Best Picture. I think One Battle's going to win for Best Picture. Who do you want to win, and who do you think will win for Best Actor?
Best Actor, it will be Timothy.
Yeah.
But I think I would want Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Because that's just the one I've seen out of the 5 that are there. So I think he should win for sure.
I think Chalamet will take it. I think, like you said, it's his time. But despite having not seen the movie, I do want Michael B. Jordan to win it, as I just said before, just because the workload alone, literally playing more than one character. So I think he's deserving of that. But yeah, we'll see how the Oscars pan out. But now, Jake, we are in 2026. 2025 is in rear view. 2026 has an impressive slate of movies coming out, from big stuff to small stuff. There's truly something here for everyone. I think a lot of people's most anticipated movies are like Avengers, Doomsday, The Odyssey, rightfully so. But one coming up that I want to highlight quick here before I pass the ball to you, that we're just a few weeks away at the time of this recording, is Project Hail Mary with Ryan Gosling. I don't know if you can see over there, but on my couch, I'm reading the book.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. It is a real page turner. I have to convince myself to slow down, otherwise I will just rip through it. It is, if you like The Martian, it is very much in that style of movie. Same writer from the novel and whatnot, different director, different production team between the movies. I digress. So I'm really looking forward to that one. As we mentioned earlier, I'm really looking forward to Supergirl, as well as also Clayface coming up in September. I really can't wait for that one. And of course, you have The Odyssey, you got Dune 3. There's so much coming out. How are you feeling about the 2026 slate, and what's your most anticipated movie?
I would say it's pretty stacked. Honestly, it's beyond belief actually how much like huge stuff is coming out this year. I would say I am most anticipating Odyssey. For sure. I'm very curious, and I'm gonna just say it out loud. I called this movie like 6 years ago that he was gonna make I was like, you know, if Christopher Nolan wants to do something, he should just tackle one of like the Greek epics. And then, what do you know?
Nice.
So I'm really excited for him to have a track at that. I think he's going to do a really wonderful job with it, especially because the cast is so huge, and huge financially and just huge in general. But that's a really anticipated one for me. Behind that would be Dune Part 3.
Yeah.
Because I'm very curious to see what he does with that story. Because Dune Messiah is such a strange departure from the first.
Weird.
It's very strange what happens in that movie. But
Dune already is kind of out there. Yeah. But Messiah says, "Hold my ear."
I'm very curious how audiences will react to that.
Yeah.
If he holds to the story, if he holds to the book pretty well. And then right behind that, it would be Avengers for sure. Avengers, it's low, not really, but it's low because I know it's gonna be good. So like, I'm interested to see what they do with Dune and all that. But I think for sure, just for originality, it would be Odyssey for me, and then followed by Dune.
What's interesting is like, I know Dune 3 is coming out. I have Dune on my shelf. I have to finish reading it. I will probably not finish it by the time the movie comes out. Dune 3 to me is just an afterthought right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because we haven't seen a poster or a trailer yet, but like, I'm like, oh yeah, Dune 3. But you're right, I'm more so like Odyssey, Avengers, Supergirl. Like there's these other heavy hitters. I think that's you drop a trailer in my lap and be like, Dune 3, here we go. So another movie that it's not an afterthought for me, that just doesn't feel real, is Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen snippets, there's all these alleged plot breakdowns online. It's hard to stay away from the movie, even if you want to stay spoiler free. Search the internet with care. That to me just seems nuts. As we mentioned earlier, you're bringing back Steve Rogers, Captain America. You bring back Thor. You bring back Robert Downey Jr. in a different role, though. This thing, I think, has the potential to be like a $2 billion film.
Yeah. On day one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but still, I'm like, for me, it's almost like Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah.
To where I'm like, I know it's coming. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't fully digested the fact that it is coming. It's not a matter of if, but when.
Yeah, it'll be the biggest thing since GTA 5. Just funny because even though Endgame came out, but like the amount of people that are just involved in this production is obscene, and the fact that there's all the X-Men coming back now, and sans Hugh Jackman, but probably not. He's got to be in it. But then I'm almost excited for Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. Yeah. Because obviously they saw something there. He saw something there where he was like, I'm going to nail this role. Yep. And I'm really excited to see what he does with that, especially after seeing Oppenheimer, where he kind of played the villain-ish kind of role, the very steamy type that Dr. Doom is. Right. I think that he's somehow born for that role as well. He was as he was for Iron Man. Yeah. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how he pulls that off.
What's interesting too is that there's a movie that's much closer to release than it is Avengers Doomsday. This is even further of an afterthought than the other movies we just talked about. Mandalorian and Grogu.
Oh yeah,
the Return of Star Wars.
I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You forgot about it. Like, oh yeah, Star Wars.
Whoops. Yeah.
Is coming out with a movie in May.
Yeah.
We're supposed to get a teaser, a trailer, something during the Super Bowl. Who knows? I know a lot of movies have said we are coming to the Super Bowl. A lot of movies have said we're not coming. I honestly don't believe those things. Yeah. I think the whole point of the Super Bowl is maybe a surprise drop. Like, I read online, Spider-Man, Brand New Day won't have a Super Bowl spot. I think they're lying. I think they're absolutely going to drop a Spider-Man thing because that thing is inside of 6 months, from release, or 7 maybe. But yeah, Star Wars is inside of 5 months. No, we're in February now. That comes out in May. We're inside of 4 months.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Yeah. Are you looking forward to Star Wars at all?
I mean, I'll see it on the big screen as a Star Wars, but I feel like it's a little bit too detached from The Mandalorian now. Where just for time wise, it's been a minute since season 3 came out of The Mandalorian, and I think at the end of the day, it's Star Wars. I'm gonna go see it, so it is, and I'll probably love it. I just don't know why they're making this movie now. I'm sure maybe the writer's strike still had something to do with the delay, but I just feel like it's a little bit past the prime for Mandalorian to have a Mandalorian movie come out.
I think this movie, and this is going to sound so cynical, but I mean it sincerely, I think it was honestly kind of a panic move. Yeah. Because, kids, if you don't know, getting into the behind the scenes stuff. Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, is stepping down. She will still be a producer in terms of credit and whatnot for Mandalorian and Grogu, as well as Star Wars Starfighter coming out in 27. But I think that after The Rise of Skywalker in 2019, which, much like Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, kind of sort of ended things on a whimper, I think her bosses at Disney said, you need to get a new Star Wars movie in theaters now. Like, before you leave, I have to go to a multiplex and see Star Wars on the big screen. And I think she went, what do we have in the tube? Oh, we have Mandalorian Season 4 coming. The kids love Baby Yoda. Let's turn Season 4 into a movie.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's what happened. I have nothing to base that on. I have no idea. But, yeah, and for me, like you said, it's Star Wars. I will go see it. I mean, yeah, like, I'd be crazy not to. But I just don't like the way it literally looks.
Yeah.
It looks like Disney Plus.
Yeah. I hope that they have a better budget than that.
Me too.
I will say, I think it's Jon Favreau directing, which gives me a little bit of hope.
He's a solid director.
He did initiate The Mandalorian to begin with.
He also did Iron Man.
Yeah, and he understands the character pretty well. I'm expecting a very extended Mandalorian episode, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But in that defense, some of the best Star Trek movies were essentially just longer episodes.
Yeah.
So, I could see it being good.
Yeah.
But will it be beyond serviceable? Probably not.
Yeah.
But again, at the end of the day, I will always love to watch anything in Star Wars in a theater, so I will be seeing it in a theater.
Yeah. I think in 2026 there are some guaranteed hits. I think Odyssey's going to hit both critically, financially. Avengers Doomsday, it'll be a hit critically, financially. Dune 3 as well. With The Mandalorian, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how this is going to land financially. I'm not sure how it's going to land critically. Like you just mentioned, you and I are most people who will see it just because it's Star Wars. I don't know now what the landscape is for it, because Star Wars has lived exclusively on the small screen via Disney Plus since The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Is this the one to bring it back to the theaters? Who knows? But
I guess either way, they have Starfighter coming out too. So,
they do.
Yeah, I wonder if they just were like, well, we need some money for Star Wars.
Honestly, I think so. And there are still things coming to Disney Plus. There's Ahsoka Season 2.
Yep.
There's, I think, something else that's animated coming out.
Yep.
So Star Wars is not, it really hasn't slowed down. Well, maybe it has slowed down, but it's not gone away. There's still stuff being released. It's just, it's been a minute since the movies, and I don't know if this is the one to get people back, but who better to look to than to Mandalorian and Grogu?
I think you're spot on there. I think it's a safe swing for them to make.
Yeah, that's a great
to have that come out and if they had something original come out first, I think people would have been like, no.
Yeah, it'd be rough.
So I think they're testing the waters with Mandalorian, and then they're like, well, don't worry, we have something original coming out next year anyway.
Right.
So I'm betting it'll probably make a decent amount it'll make a few bucks for sure. Yeah. A decent amount of money. I just don't think it'll be where they want it to be. But again, they have an original movie coming out next year. Yeah. So I think they're going to be sitting pretty good. And it's not like Disney doesn't have money. So, I mean, like, if it flops, I guess it is what it is. But
yeah, they'll be fine.
Then they'll be like, well, Mandalorian's not never coming back now. But I'm just curious if it'll wrap up the whole storyline that Mandalorian's doing, or if it'll be like, just kidding, the rest of this is happening in Ahsoka Season 2 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what'll happen there. I hope that they kind of stay separated out of it. But
The Mandalorian has had a couple of wrap-up moments throughout its run. I mean, you can go back to Season 2, handing Baby Yoda off to Luke. You arguably could have ended the series right there. Mm-hmm. If you remember Season 3, the literal last shot is Mandalorian sitting on a porch.
I kicked up on it, yeah.
Yeah, and Baby Yoda's playing with frogs or whatnot, and the shot literally closes in on a circle of Mandalorian's face.
Yeah.
And it winks off, and I'm like, okay, you ended it like a classic Western.
Yeah.
That must be the end. Now they're saying, one more time. With a movie, I think this is it. Well, I mean, will we see Mando pop up maybe elsewhere? Sure. You can't ever let a character like that, die. Do I think it'll lead to like a proper Season 4 of the show? Probably not. And unless it's a huge hit, I don't think we're going to see a sequel. Mm-hmm. I really think this is more so an announcement, a return to Star Wars to cinema. Then comes Starfighter. Then comes whatever else. So, yeah. Well, look, we've talked about 2025 in review and 2026 and anticipation, and I've had a great time just discussing all this with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been really fun and informative as well. As we wrap things up here, is there anything that you want to say as a final word, or anything you want to plug?
Not right off the minute. I do have some music coming out within probably the next month, but it'll be on my own YouTube channel. So
Okay. I'll drop a link.
There you go. You'll drop a link whenever it's ready. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got going on. So
Okay.
I would say also, anybody out there, if you want to watch a good TV show right now, check out Wonder Man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wonder Man is excellent, and if you like how movies are made, it's right up your alley. So.
Cool. Well, Jake, I appreciate you coming over. As I said, this has been a long time coming, in my opinion. And you're welcome to come back on the podcast again whenever. Very similar to 2025. I'm sure we'll have to do this again to talk about 2026.
For sure.
But yeah, until then, I'll see you at the movies.
Sounds great.
All right. Bye-bye.